9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0. Lift off.
Hey everyone, I'm Attorney Andrew Myers. This is the second in our new series of live episodes on About the Law, and we have a pretty decent episode scheduled for you tonight, even though we're a couple of minutes late getting on. My old background before law school is in broadcasting, so if I say I'm going to do something at 5 o'clock, I'm going to do it at 5 o'clock, and so I was running around kind of frazzled. Lainey Law will be joining me. She just texted me that she is setting up. She'll be on in a few. That's great. And then after she and I have a chance to talk and catch up and discuss a couple of things, then our guest tonight at 5:30 and just 30 minutes from now, actually 24 minutes from now, will be the Glarer, Will, who I think all of our viewers are familiar with. We collaborated with him once before. It was a great episode. I watch him. I think he watches us. I don't know. So we have a pretty good show lined up for you this evening. Stay with us, please. So here's the deal. We do have a few people with us, and I'll acknowledge the people that are with us as we wait for Lainey to join us. We have Fan of the Truth at the Glarer. We have Loya B. She can't hear. Uh-oh. Can you hear now? My audio is barely there. Huh. Okay. Well, we'll fix that. We will fix that, and I rely on Lainey to help me with that. Let's see. Why is my audio like that? Just me tells me she can't hear me. So hang on. We'll fix it. I think I hear Lainey. There she is. Hey, Lainey, I'm just trying to fix my audio. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I saw that you were having audio issues. I guess my first request is, can you tap your microphone? Okay, so that sounds good. Are you plugged into a soundboard?
Is that better now? How's that?
You're really low still, so I can hear you because I have my volume turned up all the way, but you're still pretty low.
I have a new setup here. I have a new cord. I have a new cable. I bought a new cable so we wouldn't have this problem like we did last time, but all right.
So, yeah, I'm going to say, are you plugged into anything that has audio controls, like the Zoom?
No Zoom.
Okay, so then I'm going to have you...
Is that any better?
Not enough, if it is.
How about that? How's that?
So you changed the audio source. It's louder. Can you say something again?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That one has you can hear kind of almost static in the background. So I would say not that one either. Can you try that again?
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
I think that's good. What do you guys think? Is this the best so far? We'll see what chat says. Can you say something else for me? Give me another 1, 2, 3.
Well, I was just telling people that I have some stuff lined up. Glarer is coming on at 5:30, so he's loud. He'll make up for it. We'll let him do all the talking.
Perfect. Yeah. So, and the audio, I would say, is good enough for right now, and we'll have to figure out something better in the future. I think you might not be using the regular microphone, but
I have a good microphone. What it is I don't have the board. I left the board at the office, and maybe I should just break down and buy another board. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we will, because we could even get you something like I have. There's different options, so we'll look into different things that we can do.
Yeah, this is Studio B, folks. So my Studio B setup isn't as great as my Studio A. I'm just bummed that I bought a special cable. You have to have a special cable to go from the XLR to the USB. And so I bought a special cable.
I think that the main issue, and I could look at your laptop too, I think what's going on is that your output setting on your microphone on the computer isn't high enough. If you know how to access that, your output, like your microphone, but otherwise I think right now what we have is good and we can move on with that.
I think I can access it. I'm going into it now. Audio, microphone, yeah. Yeah, I'm using a different microphone. I'm using the microphone that's built into the stupid computer, which is not a very good microphone. It's just one of those little teeny tiny ones.
Yeah, you could. Well, right now it's not too bad, but if you change it, you might be able to raise the output volume from there.
How's that now? Is that any better?
It's about the same. Not bad though. It's good.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's get into it. I'll let you and Clara do all the talking. Is that any better, people?
I think you're good. I think you're pretty
All right.
audible right now. I think everyone would agree.
All right. So, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and I thought, we'd take a day off from all the stuff that's happening in Massachusetts. But then the Karen Reed stuff just keeps happening, and I know Clara is up to date on that. I didn't feel like going through any more pictures in the Koberger case because, it just gets boring. After a while, this is too much. This is too much. So we could talk about either of those things. Like I had said earlier, and we are going to get into the Karen Reed. She did an interview. She did her first post-trial verdict interview on the Howie Carr show and ruffled some feathers. But, so I want to get into that a little bit. It was, it was the big headline. It was a big headline. It was a big headline, and it went by. But there's a lot of stuff that we need to address. That she said on the Howie Carr show. So, all right, yeah, True Crime Justice and Joan say it sounds good. So this is offline stuff. Yeah, I know it's offline stuff. I used to be in the broadcasting business, so we tried to get everything squared away before we went on the air, but, we didn't. But you know what? From watching other podcasts, I noticed that other people have the same problems. Hi, Erin. There's Erin. She says this one is good. Thank you, Erin. Cynthia.
Norman Corey says it was not an interview. What happened with Karen Reed?
How was it not an interview, Norman?
I'm wondering if they felt like it wasn't enough pushback. I'm curious to hear. Oh, cannot hear. Well, Nancy says she can't hear.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you mean? Oh, it says no sound. So if she can't, I think it might be an issue on Nancy's end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because Joan says it sounds right. It was an interview. I mean, no, it wasn't an in-depth interview. It's Boston. And I don't want to get too deep into radio like we did last week with Mike Crawford. But, it's Boston drive time radio. And radio has a clock that they have to observe. And they have a lot of ads they've got to play on a big station like that. So I think Alan Jackson and Karen Reed spoke for maybe a whole 12 minutes, and that was it. That's how it goes. That's just the way it is in Boston radio.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are also used to, like you said, it's Boston radio. I think a lot of people are used to podcast formats, but for radio, I feel like 12 minutes is very long, but I also, like, you have more experience in that, where it's just like, because people are listening on their way to work. They're listening in the car is the way that I rationalize that.
Well, yeah, it's like I said, it's Boston drive time radio, and they have a clock. They've got to get the news. They've got to get the weather. They've got to get the traffic. They got to get the spots and pay for the electricity for the transmitter. So, an in-depth interview, no, that's true. I would have to agree. I would have to agree that it was not an in-depth interview. Well, all right, let's play a little bit. I have... let's see if I can play a little bit of a story that was done by NBC 10 in Boston. And watch me do this.
Is when you have to sacrifice to make something happen, to fight for your life, you pull every lever you can.
Karen Reed speaking out for the first time since a jury found her not guilty in the murder of her boyfriend, Boston police officer.
Okay, so he doesn't call it an interview. He says she's speaking out. Is that a semantical difference? She's speaking out. Thank you, NBC 10 in Boston, for letting me use this.
Officer John O'Keefe. Reed sat down with the Howie Carr show this afternoon with her lawyer, Alan Jackson. More than 2 months since being acquitted, Karen Reed says that she's having a tougher time than she initially thought adjusting back to her normal life.
Yeah, because she's living with her father and mother, and her father and mother are very nice people. I've spoken to them, and that's great. But I mean, she is a grown woman. She had a fantastic career. She was a stock analyst for Fidelity. She was a adjunct professor. Had a good life going for her, and so to live with your parents. I loved my parents, but after the age of 18, I didn't want to live with them anymore. May God strike me dead. But anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, even just the day to day, like everybody's gonna recognize her too, like going around town. It's like we talked about on our last live, where it's more about just like the forever punishment than the even court case itself sometimes, or it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. So it's got to be tough.
She said she's living with her parents and confirmed she still doesn't have back her SUV.
I do not have the car.
It's not for lack of trying.
Not for lack of trying, right?
Why won't they give you back your car?
I mean, it's just logistics at this point. There's so much water under the bridge that it would require Adam Lally or somebody from the DA's office.
Now, the defense filed a motion to get that SUV back. They filed a motion. It's on the docket, which I checked again today, by the way. And then the prosecution filed a motion for the court to clarify whether they could give the car back. And then the court actually issued an order in late July saying, yeah, give the car back. So, that's what Karen means when she says that it's a matter of logistics. I mean, where is the car? Is the car drivable? Sounds like the idiots that took it apart, the experts, destroyed the darn thing in trying to get the data out of it. And I don't know, several people have told me, I'm certainly no expert, but it would seem to me kind of like getting the memory out of your computer. You don't have to destroy the computer to get the memory out. So why would you have to destroy a car? And people have told me that, yeah, you got to take the chip out. Other people, and I had a car mechanic in my comment section say, no, that stuff can be downloaded if you have the proper cables and you know what you're doing.
Or you could just pretend that you don't know what you're doing and tear the whole car down and make it so she can't have it back.
Well, I think that's what happened. I think either that, I think you're right about that, and the other alternative is that they're so ashamed of themselves that they're calling the manufacturer to see if they can get the parts to put the car back together. I think that might be it, and the other thing is some commenters have told us, but I haven't seen it in the legal papers that I've seen, some people have speculated that, they're not going to give that car back until the civil suit is over. Mm-hmm. Because, and we can get into that a little bit later, that there's going to be a civil suit because they actually, if we play this a little bit more, we're going to see that that was a topic that was just touched upon.
Reaching out to us, and we know how that goes.
Alan Jackson also revealed during that interview that Karen Reed and the legal team are considering filing a civil lawsuit, but did not say who might be targeted.
So, do you have any guesses on that? They're saying, yeah.
Yeah, I do have a lot of guesses on that, and that's all it is. I mean, as has been pointed out, Michael Morrissey and the others have qualified immunity. It's very difficult, and I've done what they call Massachusetts tort claims. There are a bunch of different routes they can go. And Alan Jackson was asked about that, but he didn't want to get too far into it. One thing is the Mass Tort Claims Act, which abrogated the old sovereign immunity doctrine. So, yes, you can sue the Commonwealth of Massachusetts under MGL Chapter 258. But that statute sets forth a lot of procedural things. For example, you've got to do presentment within 2 years. A lot of people are familiar with the statute of limitations generally, not always being 3 years. Well, if you don't do your presentment in 2 years, you are SOL. And so that's one thing. Then there is a federal 1983 claim for wrongdoing by the officers. That's a tough claim to make. And so that might really be one of the reasons why, it's taking him so long. You don't just file papers. You got to do your research. You don't just throw together, 1, they were wrong, 2, they did it, 3, you got to do a lot of research, and you got to do a lot of the research on the front end. And so then the other question is, would it be in the state court or would it be in the federal court? So Alan Jackson raised all of those things. without answering them. Hey, there's Yoli. There's
Hello,
Yoli.
Yoli.
Do you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to send an invitation to the Glarer. So
Yeah, of course. I'll read chat if you want to do that
yeah, read
right
some chats
now.
while I invite. Would be nice if I invited our guest, wouldn't it?
Well, we still have some time until he's expecting a link, I'm sure. Um, Fan of the truth, while you do that, says, Andrew, could a private citizen walk into NCDA building to request car to be returned to Karen? If Karen can't get her own car back, I don't think anybody else can get her car back for her, is my thought.
No, you've got to have standing. You've got to have standing, and even if Alan Jackson or David Yannetti or somebody else walked into the Norfolk County District Attorney's office without an appointment, they're not going to get much past the reception desk.
Yeah.
Do you have an appointment? I'm trying to put on my Lily Tomlin voice. Excuse me, sir. Do you have an appointment? Okay. So
Wallflower says, in my opinion, they destroyed that because they know that the data can be retrieved from the black box in the car. And also that goes with JC, the music man, saying they destroyed it on purpose to delete the evidence. And, we can't obviously say one way or another how they did it. Everything we say here is just, us speculating. But despite that, it does suck. I mean, obviously there's differing opinions. So can you just take the information out, or do you need to just take apart the car? We don't know why they did what they did, and we don't know why they're not giving her the car. Although at this point, after they've been ordered to, it's a little suspicious that it hasn't happened yet.
yeah, I think there's something fishy going on behind the scene. Okay, I invited Will. You can keep going.
Perfect.
You can keep going. But yeah, I did invite Will.
Thank you, Wallflower, for becoming a member on the channel. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people in chat are finding it suspicious that the car is not back yet. But like you said, they might be waiting for the civil case after.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in the papers about that, but so it's speculation at this point. But it is kind of fishy. My suspicion is that they definitely smashed up the tail light on the passenger side. Not to mention they would have to wipe off that blue grease paint. Remember the blue grease
Oh
paint?
my gosh.
Although I would think if that's like the typical theater grease paint, you're more familiar with that than I am, but that would just come off with a towel and maybe a spritz of water, I would think, wouldn't it?
I don't know. It comes off with blood, sweat, and tears from my experience.
Really?
Yeah. It's the texture is, there's a reason it's called grease paint. It's like makeup wipes, soap, water. It comes off. Not necessarily fun, but I don't like I said, it comes off eventually. Like you especially off of a plastic car that does not have pores, and it doesn't even need to be perfect. I'm sure she would take it back with the grease paint, honestly.
Yeah, I think she would too. It's you have a lot of theater experience. Unlike it's been years since I did anything in the theater. When I was a kid, I dabbled in theater. I liked more the setting up the lights and setting up the audio and setting up the video, and I did a lot of behind the scenes stage stuff. That was my thing. So you would know more about the grease paint. Grease paint, I don't think. Wallflower says it needs turpentine. I don't think so, because they put it on people, and they're not going to put turpentine on people, are they?
It's like
No.
you gotta take a leaf blower and blow someone in the face, and with soap and water and everything to get it off is how it feels.
Call Lieutenant Gallagher. I wonder if he still has that leaf blower.
Yeah.
Or if they gave it back.
We have a grease paint emergency. We need to blow it off someone's car. Well, there you
Or
go.
maybe a couple of Solo cups full of water.
Oh my goodness. Some Solo cups filled with ice.
What if anybody really knows out there? Let me know. But I think Lainey's right. I think it just takes time. It just takes time.
In a car, you just wipe it off with some alcohol or something. You can't really use alcohol in someone's face.
Nomo has raised an interesting issue. Can she sue them to replace the damaged car? When police go in with a search warrant, and just think about the Koberger case, they went into Koberger's parents' house in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and the parents had to do everything themselves. And they're of limited means, so yeah, the answer to that's no. Can they sue? Yeah. Aaron Gullidge, my friend, says cold water on it right away. Cold water. Aaron, do you put it in a Solo cup first? Would that make it work better?
That ice you get, that's how you get the cold water, is you melt it with ice and other contaminants in a Solo cup.
So yeah, in case after case after case where police and law enforcement have been known to go in to enforce a warrant, doing it legally, there is no remedy for that. You can sue them all you want, but whether you're going to get your money back, don't hold your breath. Aaron says it works if you swish it around. would that make a difference?
No, very, very silly stuff. Not having the car is not even silly. The thing is like, you bring a good point with the coworker, like how they just went in and the family had to prepare everything themselves. And look at the situation that Karen's in right now, living with her family. It's not really fair to these people that you can just, like, law enforcement can come in, do whatever they want, and now you're without a car, now you're without a house, now your door is destroyed. I'm trying to think of, there was a musician, and somebody in chat might be able to help me with this. It's like the cops busted into his house, and it's just like to the tune of, like, because it was just like, I was gonna go to work and then the cops busted through my door or something like that. And it was like the video of the cops coming in, destroying everything. It's just like, did you really have to go through my CDs? Nobody's gonna know what I'm talking about right now, but it's just silly that the cops can come in, destroy everything, and then you're kind of SOL.
Yeah. Let me finish this NBC 10 Boston report on the non-interview with Karen Reed and her attorney, Alan Jackson.
You realize when you have to sacrifice to make something happen, to fight for your life, you pull every lever you can. Like,
Karen Reed speaking out for the first time since a jury found her not guilty in the murder of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Reed sat down with the Howie Carr show this afternoon with her lawyer,
I believe this is
Alan
just the same
Jackson.
clip. I think it
More
was
than 2
over.
months since being acquitted. Karen Reed
I believe
says that
the
she's
clip is
having a
just
tougher
restarting that it
time
was at the
than
end
she initially
before.
thought, adjusting.
No, I think it was me, my usual klutzy self, not playing the end. There was an end to it, but that's all right. I think the thing that we missed, the thing that I liked the most about it, and I put in our new intro, although I have to re-edit it because it's crappy. It's been so many years since I was in that business that I've lost all of my skills. Howie asked Karen, think about District Attorney Morrissey. Is there anything, Karen, that you would like to say to District Attorney Morrissey? And Karen thought for a second, and then she said, you lost. You lost big time, and you know what you've done. So that's the part I clipped out, but that's all right. I think, I think we know. Somebody answered your question.
Yeah. I was gonna post I'm like sneaking in the back right now, posting the link so people can see, but it sucks. It's terrible. It's not just about, like, I don't know. I feel like in a lot of this we kind of just forget what it's like for the actual people behind it when you're going through this. And also, sorry everybody to I do a lot of clicking around and research in the background and stuff like that. So I apologize if it looks like I'm distracted when I say this, but one of the things like people forget about is just the actual implications this has on normal everyday people's lives. If someone came in and destroyed my window right now, I'd be freaking out. Any little thing already happens in your house and it can cost thousands of dollars, especially if you're in the New England area calling Heritage. So I don't know. The average person, it's just a terrible situation to be in.
Yeah, it is. It really is. No, I'm glad you can, Google around because electronically I have a hard time, walking and chewing gum at the same time. So it's good that you. I couldn't even get my microphone set up, and I used to do this stuff all the time. So I mean, yeah, if you could Google around to do research, that's great. You have skills. You have skills, and that's a good thing. So yeah, that was the interview with Howie, and people had mixed feelings about it. And no, you're not going to get an in-depth interview. I had reached out to Karen and invited her, but we're a strong and mighty, but only growing channel. So if anybody knows her, put in a good word for us, because I would give her all the time she wanted or all the little time. If she only wanted to do 10 minutes, we only do 10 minutes. Um, I'm thinking it's possible that the civil attorneys are telling her, you've given all these statements. You've given the interviews to 2020 and all the other places that you've given these statements to. No more. We know you did it in the first criminal trial, because that's what an attorney tells people. That's what an attorney tells their client is, do not discuss this because your words can be twisted around.
From day one, everything that all the interviews she was giving is, I, I can't imagine being an attorney having a heart attack. I think it's good that she was able to confidently speak, and obviously, she was she's in the position she is now, and it worked out. But it's very scary.
I don't want to get into the whole controversy. I really don't want to get into the whole controversy between Howie and Turtle Boy. I don't even want to get into it. That's between them. But Nomo Trials says Turtle needs to be the first YouTuber. That's fine. That's fine. She can talk to him. That's fine. I want to talk to her also. Not that my interviewing skills are any better than or worse than anyone else, but I think a lot of people have a lot of questions. And, if there were some guardrails, that's fine. When we talk to attorney Mark Betterow, as bright as he is and as articulate as he is and as fast on his feet as he is, he's got guardrails. There's certain things that he just is unable to talk about. So, I understand that, and I understand that she is facing this litigation, and it's kind of tricky. That's a question I have for Glower, who I think is just coming in now. Look at that. Oh my
Perfect
gosh, right on
timing.
time.
Oh, hold
wanna-
on 1 second. I don't know why it didn't. I'm gonna remove this and swap to over here. Hello.
Hey, how's
Hey,
it going?
Glower. Will, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. What do you have, a stopwatch? You came in just exactly at 5:30. Wow.
I, I don't care much about being on time for commitments that I make for myself, but when I make commitments for other people, like I'm like a watch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just saying earlier in this episode, I left my office late and I came home and I was running around trying to feed the dog and do all kinds of other stuff. And so, as a former broadcaster, if I say something that I'm going to do something at 5, I want to do it at 5. So I felt guilty that we didn't get going till about 3 or 4 minutes later. But I think that's kind of YouTube time. You know what I mean? YouTube's
It happens to everyone. It happens to the best YouTubers out there. So don't worry about it.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. Do I look worried?
No, not at all.
We just played little bits and pieces as NBC 10 Boston cut it up of Howie Carr's interview with Karen and Attorney Jackson. What was your take on that whole thing?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, that's an easy one to start off with.
What do you expect from me?
I mean, a lot of the stuff, and I mean no disrespect to you guys. A lot of the stuff that I've made my opinion on, I've already made, and I don't. I really rather not talk about it because it's like, I mean, the community's in a really weird, wonky place right now, and it's the last thing I want to think about.
Right.
But yeah, like I mean, yes, there's semantics, whether it was an interview or whether it wasn't, and there was the whole argument of whether or not Turtle Boy should have been involved in that or not. And, all of that stuff is between Karen, Howie, and Aidan. I put on Twitter what my interpretation of, from my perspective, not knowing anything was, and I put that out there. And so, but I think that this is just a really, I think it's just a really weird time for everyone. Like, this is a very, this is like post trial, and where people are just starting to speak publicly and feel free to speak publicly about certain things, and heads are gonna butt, I guess,
Yeah.
But I don't really have a strong personal opinion on a lot of it. It was nice to see Karen and hear from Karen and Alan. It was nice. But it wasn't like hard hitting interviewing or anything like that. You know what I mean? So it was just nice to see Karen and Alan.
Yeah. Just before you came on, we were talking about that, and I said I don't want to get into the whole thing between Turtle Boy and Howie, and I don't want to touch that. That's not my place. But it was an interesting thing that she did come on. I was just saying before you came on, my favorite part of the interview was at the very end when Howie asked Karen, "Do you have anything to say to Michael Morrissey?" And she said, "Yeah, you lost. You lost big time, and you know what you did." So I thought that was the crowning glory. An interview like that, and I did work in radio and TV for a while. AM radio, I don't care that they've converted themselves now from top 40 to talk. They have a clock. They have to get the news, they have to get the traffic, they've got to get the weather. RKO doesn't really do a lot of sports unless there's something really going on, and they've got to get the spots. So I didn't time it, but I think it'd be lucky if that little segment lasted for 12 minutes. So
Yeah, I won't join in the whole thing with everyone online that's arguing over, oh my God, should she have been there longer, and should Howie have made more time for her? Should Karen have made more time for the Howie show? Blah 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 blah. I don't know what's going on with I don't know what the production of Howie's show requires, or how that's set up, or how pre-planned these things are, or none of us do. So I mean, like when I have someone like Karen on my channel, or someone like Aidan Turtle Boy on my channel, I just look at it like, okay, I'm just glad they're here.
Yeah.
Talk, and have the floor. But the thing is I'm not an organized news station. I'm just some guy.
And we all do our own thing. We're all different.
Right.
People are always saying to me, and Lainey knows from our comments, well, did you hear what so-and-so said? Do you know what so-and-so did in their podcast? And you know what? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I watch an awful lot more. I watch an awful lot of podcasting. And, if I'm glad that what I say to these people is, yeah, I did watch it, but you know what? I'm not going to copy what they said. A, it's stupid. B, it's a copyright violation. But C, thank you for including me in your viewing, because we all come from different viewpoints. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different views of what our channels should be. So
and because
if I'm
of
just,
that, we have different perspectives. So
right. So if I listen to you, and just parrot everything you say, what's the point? A, it's boring. B, it's stupid. C, it probably is a copyright violation. If I did that, he probably could.
It's not, but I mean, unless you like sue somebody for it or something. But it's
my
not.
idea.
It's at the end of the day, my experience as a YouTuber, your audience is smarter than you think. Like and on a mass level, like just as much as you can see how people could be stupid on a mass level publicly, they could be very smart too. And I pay attention to how smart my audience is. I'm grateful for how smart my audience is, and I don't suffer. They don't suffer me. I make sure of that.
I agree. A mixed girl in a mixed up world is in the house. I did a collaboration with her one time, so thank you. I know we spoke on the phone. We've got to talk again about maybe doing something else. Will, with Elizabeth Banks being cast in the role of Karen Reed in this Hollywood production, who would you want to be cast as you?
I don't think I would have a place in that. I don't see why I would, but yeah, I honestly don't have an answer to that question. I haven't even thought about it. But
okay, I want Tom Hanks.
But I do have some thoughts on the Elizabeth Banks thing.
Okay.
That so obviously, according to this interview, that was or may not have been an interview. Sorry, just going along with the joke, but it wasn't authorized. She's not seeing anything out of it. And like, I'm the kind of guy that if somebody made some, I mean, here on YouTube, people make unauthorized crap about me all the time. They make unauthorized crap about every other YouTuber. It happens all the time, you know? And to me, I find that flattering, but this is different, you know? Like, I don't mind if somebody's making, you know, $100 off my name, you know, because they did a stream or something talking about me. That's good for them, even if it's negative. I don't care. But the thing is I don't blame Karen for feeling the way that she does, because she lived this. She should be, if she feels that she should capitalize off of every aspect of it, I think she should. I think she's entitled to it. And if there's a legal way for her to make sure that that happens, I think she should. Now, we're all going to watch it. Let's be honest. You know, I mean, we're all so invested in her case that we're all going to watch it. But the thing is, though, because it's unauthorized, because it's made by Amazon, because it's I can't remember the guy's name, but a pretty acclaimed comedy television writer who's behind the writing of it, I think it's going to be hilarious. And I, for one, plan on doing what anyone would expect me in this world to do. Is I'm gonna snipe the hell out of it. I'm just gonna stream it. Yeah, I'm gonna stream it and add commentary to it on a different platform, and urge people to not click on it on their Prime account and watch it with me. And then I'm gonna donate all of the money to Karen Reed.
There you go. That's a fantastic idea. Don't you find? I do. And we don't know about this movie yet, but I often find that when stuff like this comes out, like who was the British woman who did the documentary on Kohberger? I can't remember, but we did what you just said pretty much. We streamed a lot of it and talked about it. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I'm not going to watch that. Oh, I'll never watch that," and then behind all of our backs, they watch it.
They're watching it. Yeah, trust me. I've been through this so many times. They made a Chris Watts movie. I mean, it's just that there's always a high profile case where they make a movie out of it, and it's always a Lifetime movie or something ridiculous. But to me, it's lemonade out of lemons, man. You know, it's funny. You can make fun of it. You can have fun with it. You know, it's out there. You're not changing the fact that it's out there. You're not going to stop it from happening. So I can either be a Karen about it, not a Karen Reed, but, you know, I could be a Karen about it, or I could just make the best of it and make it as entertaining for all of us who it's pissing off, that much more fun.
Well, if you follow the rules of fair use and make it your own, I mean, you have your own perspective on stuff, and I like your perspective. You make me laugh.
Thanks.
Other creators have their own perspective, and we're all really very different. So, no, I don't want to be like anyone else. But just a little aside, back when I was in the TV business, I did production and news, and we would go out in the street and talk to people. They call it man on the street, even though it's people on the street. And we would go up and talk to people. Oh, I don't watch your channel. I never watch your channel. So you'd loosen them up a little bit. You would loosen them up a little bit. You'd talk to them. They'd realize that you weren't scum of the earth, as most people think of TV reporters. Then when they loosened up a little bit, they'd say, "Oh, how's that weather girl?" And they'd name her. "I really like her features." Or, "Oh, how's that person that does the personality backgrounders on people?" So they tell you, "Oh, I don't watch that," but they do watch it. So I think a lot of people will say, "I'm not going to watch that Karen Reed documentary," but they're going to watch it.
Yeah, realistically, anybody who has been following this Karen Reed case as religiously as most of us have been, they're going to watch it. You know, like they just are. So let's just be real about that. But, you know, I mean, I just plan on doing what I can to, you know, make it at least worth something to Karen Reed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, this question is kind of late in the game, but you were there. I thought about going down there, but I just never, I'm kind of crazy busy right now with my practice, but I thought about going down there. You went down there. So what did you get out of going down to Dedham, to the Norfolk Superior Court, and meeting people and talking to people? What did you get out of actually being on site that those of us that just watched it on TV or YouTube didn't get?
I would say the dedication and true intention and emotion behind most of them, all of them, really. I mean, there were maybe just I've come across maybe one or two, maybe three people tops who I felt were doing it for the wrong reasons, but overall, like 99% of everyone that I met were genuinely passionate about supporting Karen, genuinely passionate about supporting Aidan, and just genuinely passionate about this, about the corruption, most importantly, the corruption in Norfolk County being exposed. And so that's what we're all here for, really, at the end of the day. I mean, anything else is just distraction. So at the end of the day, what those people are out there for is because they're living under an umbrella of corruption, and they're passionate about making sure that the world sees it, because they can't count on their local government to help them, because it's their local government that's doing this to them.
Yeah.
So they're counting on, a nationwide, if not worldwide, amount of attention on what's happening there, and people like you and I to talk about it and spread awareness.
Yeah, we've both sat through both trials. I watched the first trial gavel to gavel. I watched the second trial gavel to gavel on YouTube. But of the two trials, what's the biggest moment to you? What was the most insightful? What was the most impactful? What's the biggest moment that stands out in your mind of both of these trials, such that if you were doing a documentary or just a YouTube retrospect, what's the biggest moment in your mind of both of the trials?
Oh man, there's so many.
I know.
I guess the easiest way to answer that would probably be the personal experience I had from attending certain hearings.
Okay.
Because I was lucky enough to be in the courtroom for when the inverted video in the first trial was exposed. That was a big moment. It was really cool because David Yannetti came up to me right afterwards and was like,
Really?
yeah. Because like as soon as the hearing adjourned, David Yannetti walked up to me. It was just because I just happened to be in his path, not because it was me. But he was like, this is so good because the jury now thinks, sorry, I should quote him accurately. He said, the jury now knows that the Commonwealth is trying to deceive them, not us. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
Yeah.
It felt so cool to see that natural reaction from this attorney who I've been seeing have to compose himself a certain way and keep certain things to himself because he's so public and because he's so and because as an attorney you have to be so professional in the courtroom and bite your tongue when you know that the judge is being completely unfair, and you have to bite your tongue when you know that the Commonwealth or the lead prosecutor is trying to pull a fast one and cut your entire defense out from under you. And so it was nice to see that for me personally, the best experience out of following the two trials was being as close to Karen's team and seeing how passionate they were. But as far as moments in the courtroom, that was a big moment. The inverted video, of course, the Julie Albert Bukkake moment was up there for sure, is one of my favorite moments. Definitely Jen McCabe's testimony, the contrast between her in the first trial and her in the second trial, which if you just look at both, okay, she's a liar. Like you see somebody who's acting completely different and telling different stories. And if you've watched both trials, because it sucks because the jury doesn't know what we know. So the jury is looking at this soccer mom act in the second trial that wasn't there in the first trial, and was just like, this is the jury is just sitting there, and you're kind of like wishing like, oh my God, I wish they could see right through this. This is all such an act, and but those kind of things turn out to be good memories because they were intense, but it's because the jury ended up acquitting Karen and doing the right thing. So at the end of the day, since these good things happened, the intense things that don't seem like such great moments kind of seem great because Karen came out on top,
Yeah, I agree with you about the inverted video, and your personal experience with David Yannetti is interesting to me because he always seemed to me be cool, calm,
Yes.
collected.
He is.
Every word. Alan Jackson, no question, is a fantastic attorney, but they have very different styles. Alan Jackson is an incredible speaker, an incredible attorney, but David Yannetti seems to me like the kind of guy that edits in his mind before he says something. He really edits it. He's very reserved. He's brilliant. He's obvious a bright guy, and so that's interesting to hear that you had that little explanation in the hallway from him.
No,
He and I.
no, it was in the courtroom.
Oh, in the courtroom. Okay.
It
All
was
right.
like as soon as the judge, as soon as Canody got up and walked out, is what everybody kind of.
Oh, okay.
relaxed.
Interesting.
It's that very moment where everybody just kind of relaxes, like, okay, everybody's, are we going out to eat? What are we doing? Blah blah blah, that sort of thing. So it was in that very moment, like as soon as she walked off, I was getting out of the pew, I guess a pew. I don't know if you don't call that in courtroom, but I was walking out of the gallery and he just happened to be in his path, and I just caught that excitement from him, which was a cool thing to experience.
Yeah. He and I graduated from law school the same year. We sat for the bar. I'd never met him. I'm an admirer of his, but we sat for the bar exactly the same time, place, year. So I've always thought, what a guy, what a guy. Now, you were talking about that the corruption was exposed and the jury, now saw that. I hope that's what they saw. I hope that's what they took from it.
Well, no, because this was the first trial. So no,
Yeah.
they didn't.
But that corruption continues. That corruption continues. I mean, in cases that are going on even now, we see that neglect in the discovery obligations. And maybe people don't understand how important that is. But as an attorney, discovery is something that takes up an awful lot of our times. It's an obligation. I do largely civil now. I did more criminal earlier in my career. But if you're a criminal attorney, that is a really important thing. And, in the Aidan Kearney case, as Mark Betterow pointed out in one of his letters, the district attorney's office had released 5,000 pages, 4,000 of which were blank. And only on the night before the hearing, here we have the discovery. And then in the Aidan Kearney case, we have them failing. To produce materials. In the Myles King case, we have Proctor having done 6 subpoenas, and only the results of 1.5 of them were produced. And what's the other case? I'm trying to think, but in all of these cases, the same thing. Either they're totally incompetent because they don't, follow up. One of the questions that was asked of Adam Lally is, well, when they don't, when the police officers, the state police, don't produce the material that you asked them for, especially material that was gathered as a result of these subpoenas, what is your policy? No, we really don't have a policy. It's just, so there's corruption. It's either stupidity or corruption, and I think it's a mix of both, really.
It's a mix of both, but I'm leaning the scales more to corruption. I think that they just feel perfectly cavalier with being incompetent because they're corrupt.
Well, it could be both. I don't know. Now, obviously, your number one moment in the Reed trials being the inverted video. Yeah, from a legal point of view, from a substantive point of view, that's it. But to me, one of the things that just stands out in my mind is Kelly Dever. Don't call her Dever, it's Dever. I mean, that whole episode was just a disgrace.
I'm always going to call her Dever.
It's Dever. Don't call it. At least the prosecutor knows how to pronounce my name.
She will always be Dever to me.
I thought, and I know law enforcement. I know some law enforcement. I thought that
unless she agrees to do an interview on Turtle Boy live,
Oh, that's never going to happen.
then I will start calling her Dever, because she'll get at least some sort of respect for me for that. If she goes on there and she tells the truth, then she'll earn some public respect. But until then, she's not going to have the public respect. She'll always be Dever, and lucky it's not worse.
She will go on, we're not going to go there. She will go on Turtle Boy or anybody's podcast the day after hell freezes over. I'll tell you that right now. But I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I do know law enforcement. I've represented law enforcement in the past on stuff that's totally not related to their jobs. I thought they all took a class or a seminar, or they were trained in how to testify. They were trained, be professional. You might be thinking you want to kill the guy that's asking you questions, but don't let him get under your skin. Be cool, be calm, be collected. Kind of like the same thing that we tell our clients all the time, be reserved, answer the questions with as few words as possible. If you could answer a question with a yes or a no, do it. No more. Make them dig the information out of you. And be polite and respectful. But over and above, I always tell them, despite everything that I'm telling you, despite all the rules that I'm giving you, you got to tell the truth. You got to tell the truth, because you're under oath. And if you're not telling the truth, if the guy that's cross-examining you, or direct examining you in this case, knows more than you and has done their research, they're going to grind you to pieces, and that's what happened. It's just I thought law enforcement, took training and classes and that kind of thing, how to testify. Maybe she missed that day. I don't know.
I think that she was in an extremely rare position, which was she was a police officer. She was most likely advised to lie by her superiors. She had pressure from different directions. She had pressure coming from the very people who should be encouraging her to tell the truth, to lie. And then on the other hand, she had someone pressuring her to tell the truth with facts, sitting on the stand. She chose to take it out on Alan Jackson, and that was very telling to the public. And it was also, fortunately for Karen Reed, it was very telling to the jury.
Look what Nicola Maxwell just said. She said, yeah, but Andrew, you're not a corrupt POS, sir. I guess I guess I'll take that as a compliment. I don't know, would you?
Yeah.
I like the comments. We get some good ones sometimes. So do you think there will be as much coverage of the civil case as there was of the criminal cases?
Within the YouTube community, absolutely. But within I think there'll be updates from mainstream media at best, but I don't think that it's going to get that much coverage. Hopefully they stream it, hopefully, and then us YouTubers could benefit from it. But at the very least, whatever updates will be happening, I'm sure you'll have the usual YouTubers that have been consistently trying to raise awareness for Karen, and we'll be covering that too, because the civil case leaves the door open for a lot of the information that wasn't able to come out during the criminal trial to come out through, I guess, depositions,
right?
And things of that nature. It allows for Alan Jackson and Eliza Little to probe a little bit more these witnesses. So I'm looking forward to that.
Andrew,
I don't know if
sorry, I just wanted to ask you a question now that I have, because what Will mentioned, and someone in chat also, Scott McGinnis, is asking, does Massachusetts even allow cameras inside civil cases? Or what are the chances of us potentially even seeing this if it happens?
I've heard both sides of that. Generally, in civil cases, cameras aren't allowed in. It's at the discretion of the judge. But I've heard other commenters say maybe they will in this case. Maybe they will allow the cameras in the courtroom. That I don't think there's been a final decision on that. That'll be up to the regional administrative justice and the actual judge in the case. It'll really be up to them. So that decision has not been made.
The only thing I know about that is if it's federal, it's never streamed or televised.
No, feds never allow cameras. Yeah. But this is Massachusetts, and I'm sure that they will have a conference and they'll come to a decision. Generally, it's not, as a civil attorney largely these days, I've actually literally tripped over the cables of the satellite trucks that I happen to be going to court the same day that they have a big, huge criminal case, and all the satellite trucks and the local trucks are out there, and they've got cables all over the place. Because generally speaking, not applicable to this case, of course, but generally speaking, the civil cases are kind of boring. They're not as exciting. They're not, I mean, they're about money, really, is what it boils down to. Or it's about a boundary dispute, or it's about, should we order somebody to do something? So it's not as exciting. Of course, that doesn't apply in this case. So we just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen with that. Obviously, I hope that it is public. I think, as a former reporter, more than a YouTuber, but as a former reporter, I would like to see it be public, because I don't buy these arguments that, a lot of people make. Oh, well, the lawyers will just play to the cameras. No, they won't. They'll be paying attention to their case to make sure that they hit all the bullet points in their outline so they get all the material out to the jury. So I don't follow the argument that, oh, well, it's just, it's just a play for publicity, and the attorneys will play it to
No.
the cameras. I don't buy that. I really don't. But that's a big argument.
I think that I'm only speculating, but after seeing the kind of passion that I saw Karen Reed's team have in her acquittal, I think that they are, even the ones that aren't involved in her civil case, are just as passionate about her civil case as they are about her criminal case, I believe. And I think that the civil case, the focus from Karen's civil team is going to be, if I had to guess it, honestly, I just hope so, that it's about getting some sort of monetary compensation for everything she's gone through for the last 3.5 years. I definitely hope that happens. But also, I still am holding hope that John O'Keefe gets justice. Boston police officer John O'Keefe still gets justice. I'm naive, but I'm still holding hope that this is another opportunity to possibly get him that.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. Before I address that, let me just address what Jenna on Point has said, and she has pointed out that she looked up the statute. Mass courts do allow cameras during civil trials under Supreme Judicial Court 1:19. But it's still up to the discretion of the trial judge and the regional administrative justice. So just because the statute allows it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. So now, what did you just say that? Oh, John O'Keefe. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100% that John O'Keefe should get justice and that there needs to be more of an investigation. But two things about that. One, the initial investigation, as we both know, and I've heard you say this so many times, and I agree with you that the investigation was totally botched to begin with. Our friend Mr. Proctor was just so biased that they were going to pin it on the girl right away, and he had just such hatred for her all the way through. So the investigation was biased all the way through. The trail has gone very cold, but also I think more important than that really is that from what I've heard from people that are on the inside, they just have such a dedication to, it was Karen Reed. This was a miscarriage of justice. When the first trial was over, I talked to a couple of people who I know who are in the system. They're former district attorneys, and now they're out practicing on their own, but they're still in touch with the people on the inside, and they were convinced that it was Karen Reed, and they were furious. They were absolutely furious that she wasn't convicted the first time, which is why they were willing to go out and spend $556,000. What was the number? $556,000 on
Just on Brennan.
On Brennan.
I mean,
And so
yeah.
they just had such a dedication and a hatred for Karen Reed. They just were so dedicated and furious, and a depth of disgust, that they were going to do anything and everything possible to convict her the second time. Well, fortunately, it didn't work out for them, but that's my take on it. And I don't know if you get the same thing in your comments that I get there's trolls that say she was guilty, she just lucked out, they lied, she's guilty, we all know she did it. Just as recently as this past weekend, I did an episode that dropped, I think, Friday or Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember, about Proctor and his hearing last week. And we actually got comments as recently as this past weekend, Glarer, that she did it and you know it. Anybody that doesn't agree with that is stupid. I mean, do you get comments along those lines?
Well, yeah, but I don't pay attention to them. Like, I stopped arguing with the trolls online about Karen Reed's guilt when Arca testified. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not. Don't even talk to me. You're all stupid. Like, you're all morons. Like, if you can't sit here and give, these are people who don't understand the simple concept of A, reasonable doubt, B, the burden of proof, and C, innocent until proven guilty. They just don't understand these things. And so they're just like, well, she gives people bad looks. Look at her. She's mean.
So what?
So it's like she must be guilty, I guess. What? I can't relate to that.
And that I agree with what you said, but also, in addition to that, they weren't listening to the trial because the ARCA experts said that there was no contact, there was no car accident, was it? Who was the medical examiner said it didn't matter because he wasn't hit by a car. It didn't matter because he wasn't hit by a car. So the ARCA experts made it very clear, and they were not committed to either side at the time that they did their initial investigation. Not only was there no car that hit John O'Keefe, but John O'Keefe's injuries were not consistent with a car strike. And then add on top of that the experts for the Commonwealth, what a stupid exhibit that was with the Blue Man Group grease paint. Here we are talking about the grease paint again, but I mean, the guy was obviously holding his arm up intentionally to hit the back of the SUV. It was intentional. It was stupid. I said to myself when I watched that, I'm like, how can this guy go on there with a straight face? So the experts, and to me, that was the most legally significant moment of the trial, was that the experts for the prosecution couldn't prove it. It's like they should have brought back, what was the state police trooper expert collision reconstructionist who wasn't a reconstructionist? Joseph Paul. They should have brought him back, as pathetic as his testimony was. So to me, it's clear. Shannon Burgess, thank you. To me, it's clear, no matter what you think about anybody in the trial, it was never proven. It was never proven that John O'Keefe was hit by that SUV. And not only that, the defense's previously unbiased experts, just said, no, there was nothing. So to me, that was the most important thing in the trial. So yeah, I really, no matter what you do, there are people out there that are going to criticize you and say you're wrong. And I don't mind them coming on my channel and saying whatever they want to say. It's just that be polite, be respectful. How many times have I said that, Lainey? Don't swear, no obscenity, no name calling. The minute you have obscenity, the minute you have name calling, the minute you do, you're just disrespectful. Don't tell me I'm an idiot because you disagree with me. Tell me why. Give me the facts. Give me the law, and we'll go on from there.
I have yet to hear someone who isn't a bona fide idiot say that Karen Reed was guilty. So that's where I'm at on that.
No, I would agree with you. What do you think is going to happen with the Brian Walshe case? That's the one that didn't come to mind earlier. Brian Walshe is the guy that back on New Year's Day 2022, 2023 is suspected, and there's pretty clear evidence that he dismembered his wife. And people say, well, there's no body. Well, do you really need a body in this day and age when we have all those searches and Lainey, we did an episode on this a long time ago, what does formaldehyde do? What's the best way to stop a body from smelling? Is a hacksaw the best instrument to dismember? I mean, he had all those horrible texts. And then the motion to suppress the evidence was very recently was very recently ruled upon, and that all that stuff is going to go in. 90% of it's going to go in. But I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this. I just was on the docket today, and about 10 days ago, not even that, about 10 days ago, Brian Walsh's attorneys filed for an interlocutory appeal to the Massachusetts SJC for a single justice. So they've appealed that. They've appealed the denial largely of their motion to suppress evidence. So I don't know. It was the same cast of characters. It was Proctor and a bunch of others. What do you think is going to happen in that case?
He's probably going to walk, and then
No.
people
Don't
are
say
going to
that.
blame. He's probably going to walk, and people are going to blame Karen Reed and her team for that, and deal with that when it comes. But the fact is it's not their fault. The problem is that Massachusetts State Police and the Norfolk County DA's office should have done their jobs. Period.
Exactly.
That's where the blame comes down to, and I don't want to hear it from I don't want to hear anything else, because it's just simply not true.
Yeah, you get a search warrant. You get a search warrant. You just don't, go back and forth on the email and say, "Oh yeah, you can have the phone, but only for these purposes." No, you get a search warrant from a judge, and I have to think that well, maybe I'm giving them too much grace, but I have to think that the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office has somebody that knows how to write an application for a search warrant and a proper affidavit. I have to believe they do.
I think Michael Proctor wrote a great application for a warrant in the Walsh case. I think that's actually what showed me that he was perfectly capable of conducting a sound investigation against Karen Reed or whoever. I should say he was perfectly capable of conducting an investigation into the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. That's a better way to put it. But he all he did by conducting the investigation into Brian Walsh is tell us who follow the Karen Reed case that he knows how to conduct an investigation. He knows how to conduct chain of custody. He knows how to preserve evidence. He knows how to collect it. He knows how to question witnesses. He knows all of this stuff. And the Karen Reed case is just a whole bunch of what looks to be incompetence, but the Brian Walsh case proves that it wasn't just incompetence.
No, I think you're right. That's a good point. I don't know. I don't even want to ask this question. Do you think anything will change in the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office? Do you think they learned? I've had people say to me, "Oh, they learned their lesson and they'll straighten up," and I'm like, I don't think so.
Well, let's just see what Alan Jackson and Karen Reed and Eliza Little have. Or Liza Little. She corrected me on that. It's actually Liza without an E.
Oh, it is really? Oh, I thought it was
It's
Elizabeth.
it is Elizabeth. It is Elizabeth, but she goes by Liza. I had to actually ask her. I was like, is it Liza or Eliza?
Okay.
She was, so it's Liza, like Liza Minnelli. So
I
but
liked her.
I still say Eliza like an idiot. I still do. But
Liza, yeah.
She's.
I wish they'd given her more of a role. I wish they'd given her more of a role in the case. They had 5 lawyers there, and so they really, didn't employ her a lot. She did do the cross-examination of the person at the hospital who did the blood test, and I got to admit, after the hospital person came up and gave the pretty perfunctory information about, well, we did this and we did that, and the result was, XYZ, a bunch of numbers. I thought, geez, how are you going to cross-examine this guy? Then she did. She got up and she said, well, the hospital isn't really certified to do the criminal type of forensic analysis, is it? No. So,
Right.
She did a great job where they gave her a role. She did a really good job. So I was glad to hear that Liza is also going to join the team in the civil case. So that'll be interesting to watch. That'll be really interesting to watch. I'm glad we have Microdots in the room. I love his stuff. I don't know if you watch his stuff. He has Microdots.
No, yeah. We're good. We're good friends. I'm proud to say.
Okay, I don't know the guy, but we've gone back and forth in the comment sections. I just like the production value. I've often told Lainey, I wish I had the time and energy to sit down, because I get great ideas, but I just don't have the time to do it. He does a lot of great production and does a lot of good stuff. He did a thing. My favorite episode, I don't have a favorite episode. I like all of his stuff, but he did a thing about Higgins going over to the allegedly to the Canton Police Department to move cars. Well, that's not what he was doing. He was walking around. He walked into the dispatch area. He walked around to another room. Then he went outside in the parking lot, and he was going back and forth and looking in the cars and taking stuff out of a car. So that just, he takes what he has. He takes the information that he has, and then he puts it together into a visual, into an animation, into something that's very easy to watch, and it really points things. It points to a lot of facts that are more than just paper. A lot of times, they tried in this trial. They did throw a lot of stuff up on the screen, but many trials are really boring because it's just people talking on the stand, and jurors have actually been known to fall asleep. But so it would have been a good thing to just retain microdots to do all the trial exhibits.
They did retain microdots to do some of them.
Well, he's excellent at doing his. I wasn't aware that he actually did some trial exhibits.
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's phenomenal.
He was an unofficial official part of the team. for a
I
while
did
there.
not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
For
So
trial one.
he obviously was not under the gag order because he's doing his thing.
Well, it was
he
trial
does his-
one. There was no gag order during trial
Okay.
one. Yeah.
That's true. All right. Yeah, he just corrected us or me.
Yeah.
So I just learned something. Awesome. Maybe Microdots, we should do a collaboration one of these days. Because I love reaching out to people like you, Blair. You have a lot of sense and a lot of insight, and it's interesting to have you on. What was the other question I wanted to ask you? I think it was, there's so many cases. There are so many cases, and I've been reading true crime since, and I always say this, I show my age, but I've been reading true crime since Helter Skelter, Charles Manson, then Bernard Goetz in New York, the subway shooter, the son of Sam. So I've been reading a lot of true crime. What is it about? And these all have a unique element that makes them stand out. With Son of Sam, it was because the entire city of New York was in fear. With Charles Manson, it was because he's just crazy.
And a dog was telling him what to do.
A dog was
No.
right. Yeah. Where's my dog? My dog's not here to give me directions for the next question. What is it? What was the element in the Karen Reed case that made it go international? Because it is international.
The corruption. Simple. The corruption.
There's always been corruption in law enforcement.
The blatant corruption in everyone's face. Like through the trial because people argue, and I think I've had this conversation with you the last time I was on here. People argue, is Beverly Cannoni corrupt? I don't know if she's corrupt or not. If she's not making decisions in the interest of justice, which is what she took an oath to do, she is, by definition, corrupt. Her job is corrupted. Period. So there was corruption all the way down the line. And it was like, the whole time, all I could think about is what kind of a nightmare this must have been for Karen this entire time. Because, there's always, part of the whole point of having a local government is if you can't help yourself, you can go to them and they'll step in. They'll swoop in and save the day. Who's coming in to save the day for Karen Reed? Who's coming in to save the day for Aidan Kearney?
Is it also just along those lines? It's the same thing, but is it also because there's just so many LIES? Very early on, somebody told one of the Boston TV stations, and I'm not going to name them, we have video of Karen Reed's car backing into John O'Keefe. We have the video. And that went viral. That was all over the place, and it turned out to be a bunch of malarkey, I'll say. It was malarkey.
Right. Yeah, the rumor is that there is a video, but the video shows that she didn't hit him.
My friend Aaron wants me to ask Will about the car chase today. What car chase? I've been busy in the office with my head.
Oh,
buried
it
in
wasn't
my paperwork.
it wasn't really a car chase. I happened to be live, and if I happen to catch these things in a fluke, I'll go live and cover it. If it's a car chase, this time it was a standoff with some crazy naked lady in LA who
What?
was sitting in her car and had a dog with her, and the cops just basically shot a pressure grenade in her car, and she came out and they arrested her, put blankets on her and arrested her, and that was it. It was just something to cover. for an hour while I was sitting around. It happened to be going on, so that's all it was.
She was a naked lady. She came out of the
She was
car
a
naked.
Came out of the car naked.
Do people just send you this stuff? How did you find this?
I just happened to be going on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh, I'll cover this."
Eh.
You know? Yeah.
Was she just driving around naked, or was she? I
No,
don't even want to ask you
no.
questions.
Okay,
I
so
don't even want to ask.
The short of it is, it was 6:30 in the morning in LA. She got into an argument or a fight with somebody where she assaulted somebody. I guess it was a domestic thing. I'm assuming it was a domestic thing. They called the cops on her. Cops came after her, or came out to talk to her, and then she got in her car and led them on like a 2-minute chase, and then stopped her car, and then they sandwiched her with these 2 big SWAT vehicles, and that was it. Yeah.
Okay, I saw a headline. I didn't read it because I was trying to get some work done this afternoon. I don't know why, and then I was trying to get back home so I could get to Studio B and set it up. And as Lainey knows, I'm not the best at that. So I just saw the headline. So that's crazy. That is just, why are there so many crazy people these days doing so many crazy things? It's just I don't know. At the risk of Lainey, did you have any more questions about the glare on these serious topics before I ask something off topic?
Oh God, we're going to silly off-topic questions. Oh my goodness. I mean, you mentioned earlier that you felt that the people that were going to see Karen Reed's case, that it was a passionate group of people. Do you think that you met anyone that changed your perspective on things outside of the court, like in that environment?
Changed my perspective. How?
Like, I don't know,
On
just
what?
kind of opened your, like, because some of the things that we hear is that when going to these situations and talking to other people about, like, it kind of shifts your focus to things that you didn't really realize before. I would say, like, the case as a whole was...
I'm proud to say that the only people that I'm going to listen to that from are people on Karen's team.
Mhm.
And the first time I met Alan Jackson, the compliment that he gave me that I'll always treasure is, he was like, what I love about you is that you've been right. And this is after the first trial, before the second trial. He was like, you've been right about pretty much everything. And I was just speculating, and I was like, wow, Mr. GED knows what he's talking about. Nice. So it made me feel good. It made me feel really good. So
how much time did you spend in Boston or Greater Boston?
So it has not, like at no point has my perspective ever changed. It's only strengthened towards Karen's innocence and Aidan's justification for exposing the corruption. That's it.
And
how much time did I spend in Boston?
Yeah.
Usually I've gone there, I think 5 different occasions, about to go a 6th. I think I may have gone 6 times, and it might be my 7th. I'm not sure. I lost count, but I'm going there. But I've been there each time, and usually I'll spend maybe 2-3 days there tops, depending on what's going on. But I try to find a way to spend some time with the supporters, and then spend some time with, I always find, an evening to where I get to have dinner with Aidan and whoever else. And if I'm lucky, I get to hang out with Karen and some people in her camp, and,
That's amazing.
Okay, that's. Are you coming here for the Turtle Boy hearing? Because he's got a hearing coming up on September 24th. Is that what brings you back?
No, Aidan has a live show that he's going to be doing.
Yes, at the Wilbur Theater.
Right.
In downtown Boston. What is that, on the 17th or something like that?
The 12th.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jimmy, Auntie Deb is going to be hosting it. So I'm really excited about that. I'm expected to do something there. I still don't even know what. But
that's hilarious. And I know that they said that they're not going to live stream it because they want it to be special. They want it to be special, and they're not going to live stream it because they want to give something to people that are, paying the price of a ticket. So they are not going to live stream it. So you're going to have to be there. You're going to have to be there to see the show. So I'm sure it's going to be a show and a half. I wonder if they'll.
I have no doubt in my mind it will be.
What's that?
I said I have no doubt in my mind it will be. Jimmy is one of the most creative, funniest people that I know, and I think he's going to do a great job coordinating this.
I wonder if they will record it there. Fan of the Truth just told us September 12th, 7:30 p.m. Andrew and Lainey, you should go. Will be great. I wonder if it's sold out though, because the Wilbur Theater is
sold
not
out
that
yet.
big.
It's not sold
Oh,
out
okay,
yet.
all right. So I would encourage people to go over, Google around, find tickets. Way back a million years ago, all right? A million years ago, when I was a college student, I was an usher at the Wilbur Theater. It's not
Oh,
that
wow.
big of a theater. Yeah, they had a deal with my college, Emerson College in Boston. They had a deal that us college kids. I guess it was hard to hire ushers, so they had a deal. You could sign up, and you really didn't get paid, but you got to see the show.
Hmm.
So I
It's
saw
probably why
Humble.
it's probably why it was hard to get people to work there.
Yeah.
So I saw Humble Pie with Peter Frampton there when Peter Frampton was playing with Humble Pie. It was like, so
I'm
that tells
sorry.
you. That's all. What do you mean you're sorry?
Kidding.
I like that kind of music. Anyhow, what's
I
your
do
favorite?
too. I do too. I'm kind of a music snob, and I make jokes like that. But
What is your favorite music? What do you listen to? When I go to the gym, I listen to certain music. I don't know if you go to the gym or walk or run or ride your bike, whatever you do for exercise. What is your favorite music?
I don't know. Like I like classic rock. I think I just wore myself out on it growing up. Like all I listened to was classic rock, like as a teenager for the most part, and then.
Okay.
But now, but like growing up and playing music, my taste really broadened, I guess, and I really couldn't pinpoint a favorite.
Okay.
It just depends on what I'm in the mood for. But I could be in the mood 1 minute to listen to Mastodon, and then the next minute to listen to Linda Ronstadt. For all I know, who knows?
Yeah, that's largely my music, but I like I have eclectic tastes. I've been told.
I would never have taken you for a Mastodon guy, Andrew.
Well, I saw Quiet Riot in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I saw Quiet Riot. 1 minute I'll be listening to Metallica. The next minute I'll be listening to Tchaikovsky because I was raised listening to Baroque music, Mozart, Handel, Haydn. So I love Tchaikovsky. So I listened to the 1812 Overture because it's about 15 minutes, and that's a good cool down in the gym. You go get on the treadmill, listen to the 1812 Overture. That's 15 minutes, and you're done. So then I'll listen to AC/DC. I don't
a good
know why
system.
go ahead.
I said that's a good system.
So I don't know why when I was a kid I loved rock. I loved classic rock. For some reason I did not like Led Zeppelin. Now that I'm this age,
They
I
were
love them.
actually my favorite.
I
Like
now I listen to them all the time. I can't get enough of them. I've got them on my iPhone and I listen to them all the time. I was a Beatles guy. I loved the Beatles. I love Paul McCartney to this day. But then at some point, I discovered that the Rolling Stones were better. And I have a friend, I don't know if he's watching here. I have a friend who just knows everything there is to know about the Beatles. He just knows everything. He knows who was the sound mixer. He knows who played all the instruments in the back. He knows how many tracks were on every song. And when I tell him that the Rolling Stones were better, oh my God, he'll never talk to me again. But I mean, they're still playing. They started up in the 60s and now here we are, they're in their 80s and, Keith Richards. I read one of the most interesting biographies I ever read was Keith Richards' biography. But anyhow, I digress. So that's the kind of music we have. Lainey, what's your favorite music?
Oh gosh, my favorite music is hard to pinpoint, and also it's not as refined. I apologize of the legacy behind your music. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of Sabrina Carpenter, which I'm sure you guys are huge fans of. Thursday, for people more on a more rock note, I saw System of a Down, Korn, and Polyphia, if you guys know them.
Corn.
I saw Dropkick Murphys recently. We'll be seeing Rise Against soon. So
All right.
I see a lot of live music. Thank you for asking.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like Rise Against. I never got to see them live though, but they did a great cover of Any Way You Want It by Journey. It's really good. I was like, wow, that's impressive. Anybody who can like do a sound cover of a Journey song with good vocals, I'm impressed.
Yeah, that's a great band. Great band. You know who I saw, I think 6 or 7 times was Yes. The old Yes.
Wow, I never
Not
got
the
to see Yes live.
Not the
I would-
reconstituted yeses, but the old yeses with
Yeah,
Rick
roundabout
Wakeman.
days. Yeah,
Oh yeah, close to the edge, that kind of stuff. I actually, Rick Wakeman, he was the guy in the cape, and he had like 7 keyboards all around him. I saw him recently.
Yeah, he looked like Walter Mercado, the
Yeah.
psychic Spanish lady from Telemundo. Yeah.
Well,
I knew that.
he recently toured the whole world in smaller areas, and I saw him in a little town in New Hampshire that'll go nameless. It's a small arena, and it was very intimate. You're sitting right there, and he goes around now, and he plays all this different music. He's obviously a piano virtuoso, but he's older, like the rest of, I'll speak for myself, the rest of us. He tells stories. He tells really interesting stories, and I did not realize that Yes was only a small part of his career. He wrote songs for Cat Stevens. He wrote songs for other musicians. And so anyhow, I digress. The only other subject I wanted to bring up, I like to make these things a little bit lighter. I like to make them a little bit lighter. Was
Sure.
Will, do you ever eat shrimp from Walmart?
Yeah.
Did you eat any of the radioactive shrimp?
Well, I haven't eaten shrimp from Walmart in a couple of years. I actually
Okay.
haven't even. But yeah, I actually eat a lot of shrimp because it's.
I
just
love
high in
shrimp. Me
protein.
too.
High in protein, low calories.
How do you make it? I have a bunch of different recipes. What's your number one recipe?
Normally, I just dip it in cocktail sauce and eat it.
Yeah.
Cold. Yeah.
I do that, but I do that all the time. I love it, but I also make shrimp on the Barbie. I have my own recipe for shrimp on the Barbie, and everybody loves it. And it's easy. It cooks up fast. But
You don't have any secret recipes to share even outside of shrimp, Will?
No, I like to cook, but I mean, I cook the same way that I do my live streams. I never really know what I'm gonna do. I kind of know what I'm gonna talk about. Like I know what I'm gonna cook. I just don't know how I'm gonna do it. And then, but for the most part, I like to saute things or bake them in the oven, or like if I have a pretty limited amount of like certain types of food that I eat regularly. Like I try to eat a lot of steak. So I like my steak, Pittsburgh style, charred on the outside, red on the inside. I like shrimp. I like eggs and bacon, and pretty simple guy. Like I'm not a big foodie where I'm like, oh my God, I haven't tried that. I have to try that.
Yeah.
I'm just not built like that.
Lainey Law, do you like shrimp?
I know what I like, and I cook it and I eat it.
As far as me for shrimp, this is so awkward to talk about. I love shrimp. I'm found out recently that I'm allergic to everything. I didn't know you could be allergic to celery. I'm allergic to celery. I'm allergic to shrimp. I'm allergic to weed. I'm allergic to casein. That's in all of the dairy. Yeah, so I mean, sometimes I'll still be naughty, and sometimes I'll still eat things that I'm allergic to. I'm like, I can't really breathe a little bit, but that's fine, I survive. But I'm on a steak, potatoes, and broccoli diet pretty much.
Oh, I had chicken and broccoli last night. I had chicken and broccoli. Well,
Makes me be healthy.
it's a horrible story. I read further into it. It's hard. I mean, it seems like every week we see some new food product that's been recalled because it's got ptomaine poisoning or it's got, whatever. And so I read into and it just really disturbs me that so many of the foods that we eat are just, they're mass produced and it's not good. And so I read into the shrimp story, and it turns out that Walmart buys its shrimp from Indonesia. And oh gosh, now I forget which isotope it was that was in the shrimp, but it's a byproduct of either commercial power plants or the nuclear bomb making. You're not allowed to say that word on YouTube, but it's.
I think it's fine now. I don't know. YouTube changes its mind.
So did anybody even investigate where that, not just, take it off the market, bad Walmart, blah, 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 and move on to the next news story? Or did anybody go to Indonesia? What is this radioactive element that's used in warheads doing in Indonesia? Is it from a power plant, or is it from making warheads? Is it maybe, it has a half-life of like 30 years, so it's possible it's from World War II. Then again, because they tested stuff in that part of the world. Or is it just some crap that that, some power plant is dumping against all environmental regulations in developed countries. So I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too serious here.
Beats
But
the
it's
heck
just-
out of me, man.
What's that?
Beats the heck out of me. I probably should pay more attention to that stuff. I just don't.
It's
So
But I
you had
probably
heard
should.
about it though, right? The radioactive shrimp from Walmart. You hadn't even heard about it. Wow.
I have now.
Well, now it's like last week's news, so this is a washed up topic. That's what Andrew's saying. Is like we just move on to the next thing completely. We don't.
That's
Where people, how did the shrimp get radioactive? We may never know. But
Don't buy shrimp from Walmart. Noted.
yeah.
Got it.
Look, one of our viewers actually knew it's cesium-137. I'd read the story, but I forgot.
That's phenomenal.
So anyhow, all right. Anything else, Clara? You want any serious or non-serious topics you want us to cover here?
Can't think of anything off the top of my head. It's nice to be here as always.
You are invited to stay with us. We always do viewer comments. You're invited to stay with us, or if you don't want to, that's fine. What do you want to do?
I can hang out if you want me to. It's fine.
Okay. So, Lainey, make sure I do this right.
Okay, I'm on high alert right now. Uh-oh. Yeah, perfect.
So we had done an episode on Proctor, the hearing. Did you see the hearing last week on Michael Proctor where he wants to get his job back?
I went over it, yeah.
Yeah. So Todd M. says, thanks for covering. And let me say first, anyone who has a job that includes privileged information should be prepared for their personal cell phones to be searched if there is reasonable proof of a leak of information, which we all saw Proctor did, and he did it in a foul way. Second, I would think the Mass State Police did enough documentation to support his firing. Not only the leaks of info, but the failure to provide discovery in a timely fashion is bad enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a mouthful. I mean, I would agree with that, but I would be more specific and say civil servants should be prepared for that, but citizens not necessarily. I don't think they should. I don't think people should live in fear of their personal messages being extracted and blasted out into the entire world. But if you are a civil servant and you are discussing a case that or discussing an open investigation with people who you shouldn't be discussing it with, you shouldn't have a job, and you should be subject to being put to prove that, which means that your cell phone should be subject to searches and whatnot. Yeah,
I mean, he's investigating, a crime. Part of the ethics of it all is you don't disclose it to other people. Well, it should be. Maybe it wasn't in this case, but it should be a sealed matter where you're actively investigating. You don't have all the facts yet, and there's a certain integrity to an investigation. You don't just, talk to your high school friends, which he was doing, among others. Lainey, do you want to take the even ones?
Yeah, sure. So this one's from Zampsheimer 7685. In my opinion, if Proctor is reinstated, he will continue to work for the troopers until he retires. What else can he go and start over at his age and infamy? He will leak out his years in some boondocks location and count his lucky stars. And we're gonna say I don't like if the Proctor is reinstated. I know we were talking about like the likelihood of it. We're hoping that it's extremely low, but that is a great point. That where on earth is he gonna work? It's his options at this point are extremely limited, and for good reason.
Yeah. Go ahead, Will.
Oh, I mean, I was just gonna say. I mean, it's quite obvious this person has no business having a job with any police unit whatsoever, any police department. He has no business being a cop. But on top of that, I mean, I'm just of the opinion that I don't even think that the Massachusetts State Police have any intention of keeping him fired. I thought that their internal affairs investigation, and it was very telling from those hearings, because I'm so glad that they were streamed live, because I didn't see anything. I didn't see any real effort from the Massachusetts State Police Internal Affairs Division to actually investigate Michael Proctor properly and find true grounds for him to be fired when we saw it, we know of it, all of these things that we know he should have been fired for, not just these text messages, but just the way that he conducted this investigation in the first place should have been the primary reason why he was terminated, and yet it didn't even come up. So that tells me a lot about the Massachusetts State Police Internal Affairs Department, and I'm just not satisfied with their even intention of keeping their department clean.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. Why would they want this to be out in the public? Well, I mean, they have a bad reputation to begin with, and then to just, allow this kind of stuff to happen. I can't believe that he wasn't summarily dismissed much earlier in the case. I mean, we went through the first Karen Reed trial, and then the same day that trial one ended in a mistrial, in early July of 2024, he was suspended without pay. And then he wasn't terminated until 3 hearings were held at a snail's pace in January, February, March, 1 hearing a month. I mean, how serious is that?
Well, explain this to me, Andrew. How is it that they were aware of these lewd and horrible text messages of Michael Proctor months before he was fired, and then that's the reason why he was fired? They allowed him to work cases and investigate cases knowing this, and then still use that as the reason why they terminated him.
I can't answer that one. They're on their own on that one. I mean, he should have been summarily dismissed that day. I mean, you're supposed to avoid even the appearance of impropriety, and to say
or at
the
least
stuff
prevent it from happening again, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
How do you effectively prevent that from happening again? You suspend them. Isn't that what the purpose of suspending a cop is before you actually fire them? You suspend them, you investigate them, then you fire them if there's grounds to fire them. But you keep them off of the field, out of the field, or even involved in any open investigations until you get the truth.
Well,
Because the people involved in these things, in these investigations, whether they be the victims or the suspects, they have rights. And that is clearly a violation of their rights to have somebody capable of this kind of behavior openly working in an open investigation. It's crazy.
I don't like to paint with a broad brush because, again, I have law enforcement in my extended family, and I've represented law enforcement, and I respect law enforcement. But my understanding, talking to the law enforcement that I do know in Massachusetts, is that they're furious about exactly what you're saying. Why was this allowed to go on? It could taint further investigations. He could be out there doing the same thing again. So my understanding from speaking to law enforcement in Massachusetts is that they're furious with the way this whole thing was handled because, it taints all police. And, that's not a good thing. I was speaking to one police officer who actually is pretty high up in the ranks in a city police department in Massachusetts, not Boston, one of the other cities. They're actually changing some of their internal protocols because of the Karen Reed case, because they're furious that this kind of thing happened. It besmirches everyone. I've seen in my comments people say, well, law enforcement are this. No, they're not all like that, and we don't want them to be like that. So I agree with you that they should have acted much more swiftly. They should have acted much more cleanly. I mean, I guess,
if the interest and the objective is always to protect and serve, why were their actions not in the interest of protecting the public? Why were their interest in not in serving the public by ensuring that they have ethical and morally driven police officers out there to protect and serve? I mean, why? There's really no excuse why they would allow Michael Proctor to work these cases knowing what they know about him.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Number 3, Wretch K. I can't pronounce that. Come on, people, give me names I can pronounce. Why would he even want his job back there? How embarrassing, honestly. Imagine anyone ever doing what he did and continuing to work at the same place. He's a terrible human. Is mass a fire at will state? Well, I think those are rhetorical questions.
I have thoughts on that.
Okay.
because I agree with this person. Actually, I find it really weird that Michael Proctor even wants to work in an environment where during these very public hearings, his whole defense was trying to throw his colleagues under the bus and say, well, they did the same thing, so why aren't they getting fired? So now he wants to go back and work in an environment around, peers who he tried to throw under the bus. Why would
No,
he
it's
wanna
all
do
about the money. It's all about the money. He wants to
about
get
the
back on the
pension.
police force and
He
get
wants
all
that
that
pension.
back pay. He's
And he wants that
accumulating a lot
pension,
of it's all about the money. Of course, he doesn't want to work there. I mean, the Mass State Police attorney at the hearing said, "No, we don't want him back." And he quoted, I hate when my own words are used against me, but he said, Proctor himself called his text disgusting, misogynistic, outrageous. No, of course he doesn't want to work there. Of course he doesn't want to work there. He just wants to get his job back. I don't know, but what Betterow said was that he thinks that of course he's not doing this to work there. He just wants to go in there and collect whatever money he can, and that's it.
Yeah.
But what?
Well, I
but-
mean, he obviously doesn't really want to be a cop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're talking about this guy whose big public crybaby story was, I threw myself on my lawn on my knees and I couldn't believe that I was fired. I'm no longer a cop. But you didn't act like a cop the whole time you were a cop, dude.
Yeah, one of the most repulsive things that ABC Network has ever done, and I've always thought it was a repulsive network, and I don't want to get into why I think that, but the night that Karen Reed was found not guilty, they're running this boohoo thing that you're talking about with Proctor, crybabying about, look what they did to me, and he's down on his knees and on his, it's not even a news network anymore. I don't know what they call it. I mean, maybe they're trying to be Pravda of the United States or Izvestia, but just how repulsive was that the night that Karen Reed's jury found her not guilty on all three major counts? They're doing a boohoo special on Proctor. It's repulsive. It's just repulsive.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he wants his job back, but he's between a rock and a hard place. Who would ever hire him? I mean, I don't know of any self-respecting mall that want him as a mall cop. He couldn't be a teacher. He certainly couldn't be a teacher. I mean, what future does the man have?
I mean, seeing as he works for Chris Albert anyway, in my opinion, he could go drive pizzas deliver pizzas for D&E Pizza, as far as I'm concerned.
Would you want him delivering your pizza after all the things you've said? I would.
Well, I wouldn't order from D&E Pizza in the first place.
I don't think they deliver down to where you live anyhow.
No, but I wouldn't even there. I mean, from what I understand, their chicken parm is quite mediocre, so I wouldn't even bother.
I don't know.
Hoghead 4596 says, if he gets put back to work with the MSP, there's no justice anywhere in Massachusetts. Killer's running free. Well, and I mean, this has a couple different layers to it because, saying that he is the killer is one different thing, but I agree that if he gets back with the Mass State Police, that is going to be ridiculous.
Well, I think what that person's trying to say with that comment is, if you have people, if the Massachusetts State Police allow a guy like Michael Proctor to work, then what hope do the civilians and citizens of Massachusetts have that somebody kills a loved one of theirs, that they're going to get justice for it?
Yeah, Karen Reed could have been anyone. Could be any of us, really.
Yeah.
Tammy Lou Story Dickerson. I think I said that right. Everybody's personal cell phone was extracted. What makes him any different? It doesn't matter. If he said it on texts, then he said it with his disgusting mouth. Investigators destroying evidence and troopers driving while drinking, while writing tickets to others that do, cops getting drunk, losing their badge and gun, yet honor and integrity. Yeah, that should have been enough right then and there when he went out with Kevin Albert one night and was it Kevin or was it Proctor that left his gun and his badge in the car?
It was Proctor who left it in Kevin Albert's car.
Yeah,
I believe.
I mean, come on. I mean, that's ridiculous. So
could be the other way. Could be the other way around. I'm not 100%.
I forget. So I don't know if you're aware. We've been keeping track of how many people have been watching our channel and commenting or sending in questions. and I said I was going to retire this when the Karen Reed trial was over, but I changed my mind. And so now we are up to having comments and questions from 80 different countries. 80. And we've even gotten a couple of new ones in the last couple of weeks. So if anybody out there is from a country that's not on this alphabetized list, let us know. Okay, enough of blowing my own horn. I don't know if have you been following the Koberger case or not?
I mean, when it first happened, I covered it some, and then I didn't keep up with all of the motions filed and all that the last couple of years. And then when he pled guilty, and I watched when he pled guilty and was sentenced, and there was the impact statements. But I mean, he's where he belongs. You know,
Right,
I'm glad he's having a hard time in prison. He deserves it.
Here's the dun 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 moment in this case. We asked, we're still following. There's a lot of questions. Yes, I saw him plead guilty. Yes, I watched the impact statements. But you know what? There's just so many questions in this case. And I've taken heat from a minority of our commenters saying, move on. He pled guilty. That's it. That's the end of story. Full stop. All that's rhetoric. And there's just too many questions. So I put out a question a couple of weeks ago. Should we just give it a rest? Should we move on and do other things, or should we stay on it? So the vast majority of our viewers say stay on it because there's too many questions. So this is typical of that. Eva Leo says, you are just answering the questions that we have really looked into this case have. Please stay on it. Those kids do not have justice.
All right, so Nothing Half-Asked says, Dago sent us to say thanks, and we appreciate your ability to ask the uncomfortable and unpopular questions. Interesting that the neighbors that call the cops in broad daylight for noise had zero concern for the 30 to 45 minutes estimated of dog barking, and SWAT was not deployed. Everything is about separating Idaho from other states, colleges, town, and multiple tourism videos talk about outsiders relocating to Idaho and the difficulty they will face being accepted. That is not normal or something to be taken lightly. So I guess this one is talking generally about concern towards just the overall attitude, is my interpretation of this.
Yeah, and Dago is another YouTube creator that when the Idaho State Police released 556 pages of reports, it's an overwhelming number, and he read them all sequentially from page 1 to page 556, and I had it on in the background trying to get some work done, but then I just got too fascinated with some of the reports and just started watching him and listening to him. So I gave him a shout out. He sent his people to comment here. He's just saying thank you for giving them a shout out. And most recently, what he's done is some new photographs have been recently revealed, and so he's going through all of them.
So I'm trying to understand the logic behind that criticism, because why would SWAT be deployed when there's no threat? Why would SWAT be deployed because there was a dog barking? That makes no sense to me. So I'm of the impression that there's a lot of people who, and this same thing happened with the Watts case, where people have been obsessively following this Koberger, Idaho thing for years and years. And then when there's no dramatic trial that they've been looking forward to and fantasizing for the last couple of years, and it's something as simple as the law working out in the best possible way it could, where the guy pleads guilty and says, hey, take me to jail, that's not satisfying enough for them. So they have to spin things and go, oh, well, I find this suspicious and I find that suspicious. Dude, they got the guy. He's in jail. That's it. Leave it alone.
One of the guys that says there's a lot of suspicious things. I'm that guy you're talking about that just says there's a lot of suspicious things. You tell me why the girls were sitting in that house wide awake, not in a frozen shock phase like the police lied about in their probable cause affidavit, saying, oh, poor Dylan, she was in a frozen shock phase. No, they were awake, alive, texting, talking all night. Why did they wait 8 hours between the time they heard somebody run up those stairs? It's a small house. They heard everything. They waited 8 hours until they finally got around to calling 911. And when they got there, Hunter Johnson was already there.
You never lived in a party house in your 20s?
Yes. Well, no, I didn't. No, I visited party
coming in and out. Yeah, there's just traffic coming in. I lived in an apartment, my first apartment in Miami. Like, people were coming in and out of there all the time. A killer could have came in there certain nights and I would have never even known it. Somebody could have even killed my roommate and I would have probably nodded to him and said, "What's up, man?" And they would have walked out because there were people that I didn't even know coming in and out of my house all the time.
Well,
So,
we're going
I
to
mean-
disagree on this one. We're going to do it amicably, but I didn't say he didn't do it. But I will tell you this. He never confessed to the crime. If you go to Black's Law Dictionary.
Why would he?
Now this is a major authoritative source all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. You look at Black's Law Dictionary, and it has a definition of a confession which says you've got to have details. And there's even an Idaho case. I'm going to sneeze. There's even an Idaho case on what a confession is. His saying yes and signing a form that just simply says yes under Idaho statute 1234 ABC. Yes. He never confessed. And so there's a lot of questions about this case. So we're going to amicably disagree. I think there's a lot of questions. And I respect your point of view, but I don't share it. I think there's a lot of questions that deserve being asked. And the vast majority of my viewers, at least, and we have different viewers, the vast majority of my viewers say, yeah, stay on it. Stay on it. Keep asking questions.
I've always held the position that people have unfairly pointed fingers at Dylan Mortensen for she should have done more, she should have done this, she should have done that. Everybody's built different. Just because somebody didn't necessarily do the right thing that you like to say you would have done in theory doesn't mean that she is guilty of something or that she is part of something, or I mean, I've always thought that she was getting a lot of flack from the public that was unnecessary. And
I never said she was guilty of anything. I just say there's a lot of questions. There are a lot.
I'm not saying you did. I'm not saying you did. I'm saying that this is what the noise I've been hearing for years. And I'm like, still give me something solid that makes Dylan Mortensen seem like she had something to do with any of this. Otherwise, leave her alone.
It's just questions. It's questions. There's a lot of questions out there, and I'll continue to ask them. Number 3, Eileen. It's probably going to get deeper. Eileen Mary O'Malley. Scared 5-year-olds know to call 911. No excuses for those 2 that hid in their rooms. Then DM switched to BF room on their phones, texting while 4 victims being unalived didn't call 911 for help. Then let those poor victims lay there for over 8 hours. It's horrifying, and they should be held accountable. Excuse me. In my opinion, the brutality and swiftness of these crimes suggest cartel involvement, and definitely more than one person. Believe me, a lot of people are very suspicious of Dylan Mortensen. We are not stupid. So this is what I get, and this is why the majority of my commenters, maybe not yours, have implored me to keep on the case and keep asking questions.
That comment tells me everything I need to know about the person asking it. I rest my case. I rest mine too. We're going to keep asking the questions. Craziest thing I've ever heard. Cartel? Are you kidding?
No, I think a lot of intelligent people have said there's a rug angle to this whole thing. Just it's hard for us to believe that, and I'm glad we're having this respectful, professional disagreement, because a lot of respectful, responsible, intelligent people have said this has all the hallmarks of something to do with drugs. It really has a lot to do with drugs.
I'll agree with that. I mean, they're in college, but I don't think that none of these people are big time drug dealers or anything like that. And I'm of the opinion, and I always stick to Occam's razor. The simplest answer is usually the correct one. And I think that these were college kids, and they could have been under the influence of something. They could have been like, oh, what was that? Oh, I don't even care. I'm into whatever conversation I'm having on my phone. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're responsible for anything.
I don't think anybody's saying that those 4 were necessarily responsible, but that house had a reputation, and we have another guest that we've had on a number of times whose daughter went to school in that area before, and he said even then, long before these 4 were in that house had a reputation, and things were happening in that house. And so, I mean, there's a lot of questions, and respectfully, I'm going to keep asking them.
You know how many rumors I've heard about Karen Reed? You know how many rumors I've heard about Aidan? You know how many rumors I've heard about the McAlberts? I mean, when these high-profile cases happen, rumors are going to fly. People are going to start making stuff up to make it more interesting for themselves. Because
Well,
it's
so
just,
a lot of the questions that exist have a factual basis for them. I mean, they out and out lied in the probable cause affidavit in a number of instances. For example, when they made up the frozen shock face thing, which was an absolute lie. They made up a lot of other things about everybody being asleep in the house. No, people weren't asleep. We have one of the police reports that just came out from the
maybe
Idaho
they
State
just
Police had
assumed they
Xana running
were.
up the stairs.
But maybe they just assumed they were asleep because they were keeping to themselves in their bedroom and doing whatever they were doing. I mean,
And the police signed an affidavit, which is, under penalties of perjury. So, well, I'm not saying anybody's guilty or innocent. I'm just saying that in the aftermath of the change of plea, in the aftermath of the victim witness statements, there are questions. That's all I'm saying. There's questions, and we're gonna keep asking them on this channel.
I'm not blaming you for asking them. I'm blaming the people who are true crime people, because I just never related to this type of person. Like, I felt so relieved to stumble onto the Karen Reed case and cover something that I felt was something that, like, I could just go based on the facts and it would be fine. Because the thing is covering all these other cases, if I don't sit there and I don't go with the mass public who's just simply not satisfied, who simply didn't get enough blood, I then I'm not giving them what they want. And I just refuse to do that when the facts don't dictate that anyone's guilty. And I'm not even going to make implications that somebody who could very well be a victim, and most likely is until proven otherwise, I'm not going to start pointing fingers at them, and I'm not going to start breathing down their neck. I'm just not like that. I never have been. I've always hated the true crime channels that did that in the past, because, they read the chat and they see all these crazy comments, like the one about the cartels, and they're like, let's explore that. What is it? Cartels, blah, blah, blah. And they don't realize that what they're doing is spinning an insane narrative that real people are involved in. These aren't characters in some Lifetime movie. These are real people whose lives are
Of course,
affected.
they're real people. And I've talked to some of the people that were involved in Idaho, and I do realize it's real people, and all the more reason why we really need to ask questions and see if we can get answers. I don't know, Lainey, we've really worked up Glare. Do you want to read comment 2 and work him up some more, or should I?
Oh, well, I do want to say, I think, and I guess I can't speak for Andrew, so maybe I'm
Go ahead.
misunderstanding
Hit
this.
me.
Well, I was
Hit me
just
with your
going to
best
say,
shot.
because Andrew is primarily concerned that we don't have the answers to things like, how did this get done so quickly, where he's not necessarily putting it on Dylan. I think that it's an overall confusion, but
I'm not
also
accusing him of putting it on Dylan.
No,
I'm not doing that.
yeah, no, I'm just saying that I agree with you as well on that Dylan and the other victim also have had way too much attention from the internet, where I think there's a lot of vigilante justice kind of going on, where these people are getting harassed. So I think that it's fair to be confused and want these details, and to wish that we had these answers. Yeah.
I read the arrest affidavit, and it sounds to me like they conducted a sound investigation before they made an arrest. They had a lot of data. They followed, they tracked. It seemed pretty shut and pretty closed, like pretty shut and dry.
A lot of it was circumstantial stuff. I don't know.
Well,
a lot of it was very circumstantial.
I thought the DNA on the sheath was weak. I didn't think. I was like, okay, well, touch DNA on a sheath. Where's the murder weapon? You found a sheath. Do we know that the sheath belonged to the murder weapon itself? We don't know. But that circumstantial evidence is still pretty telling. You know what I mean?
No, I don't, because I think a lot of it was just what they could grab, and then the arrest affidavit, a lot of it was made up facts which have not stood the test of time, and I'm just saying that there are a lot of questions that remain out there. Number 2 here, I think, is a great comment.
All right, so I'll read number 2 here. I see you, R4B. Think for yourself. Do you really think one man broke into that house and killed 4 people and stabbed them 50 times or more, and he did it in a matter of a few minutes? Have you ever wondered where the bloody footprints? They never showed one. How could he have not? How could he have went in there and killed all 4 of them and no bloody footprints? That I have no idea what goes in the mind of a sociopath that would do this, but I think that's also, I think, where the cartel theories come from, where it seems just so organized and put together, but that's insane. I don't know.
Well, we just have different audiences. That's all. So our last comment this week is okay. This goes to somebody said last week, Lainey, we're glad you're back. Andrew has gone off the deep end on the PK case. So Social Deb says, no, you're not going off the deep end. If we close the book, we let lies and corruption win. Stay on it. So the vast majority of our commenters want us to stay on it, because I asked them, I said, do you want us to move on? Do you want us to just forget it and move on? And we will move on in the sense that there's other cases that we want to cover. But yeah, when the Idaho State Police released 556 pages of new material which contradict the narrative that had been stated, yes, we're going to cover it. I did a collaboration with Lucky the other day, Unfiltered Lucky, and he pointed out that the journalist Eaton for the East Idaho News, Nate Eaton, had interviewed Bill Thompson, the prosecutor himself, and asked a whole bunch of questions which raised more issues. But one of the things that Bill Thompson said when asked, he was asked, do you think just one person did this? He said, well, that's what we think. We think that just one person did the crime, but we can't be certain. So how can the prosecutor himself, the number one top dog in the County, Moscow County Prosecutor's Office, the number one guy, still has doubts? So yeah, you better believe we'll stay on it. We respectfully disagree, but yeah, we're going to stay on it. There's a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
Okay, I mean.
And this is how we always.
I could speculate all of these questions. I could just poke just holes in holes of doubt in any of these questions that these people are asking. I mean, the prosecutor who's saying, "Oh, well, we don't know if it was one person or not." At the end of the day, if we're talking law, which you would know better than I would, not trying to argue that point, but at the end of the day, he got a guilty plea. So he can say that. But at the same time, had he not gotten a guilty plea, what that indicates to me is that they're open to more information as it comes. It's still an open investigation.
I did an episode a few weeks ago where I stole some material from Harsh over the pond, and it was an article. I forget whether it was published by the American Psychological Association or another association along those lines. And the article documented 31 cases of people who pled guilty who later were proven by DNA or other objective evidence to not have committed the crime. So this article documented 31 cases of people who took guilty pleas. Some of them served 20, 30 years in prison, and then they were found objectively to be innocent. So it does happen. That's only 31 cases. There is a group, and we've had a representative of it on our channel. There is a group that's called the Innocence Project, and it happens all the time that people plead guilty for whatever reason and they're not guilty. So I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying there's questions.
I'm saying that is so unlikely when it comes to a guy who.
Oops.
Sorry.
What did I do? I'm sorry.
Screen.
That was unintentional.
When it comes to a guy who studied criminal justice, I don't see him pleading guilty to a crime he didn't commit. I see him fighting it tooth and nail because he's got a future. Why would he plead guilty to something he didn't do if he understands the justice system? That makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's a fact that it happens. It's an absolute fact that it happens, and people have spent 20, 30 years in jail after pleading guilty, and they do it for all kinds of reasons. They have issues.
A lot of
they
things
want to
happen.
avoid. I mean, if you're in jail and you have. If you're in jail and that just for you, they're building a new firing squad room just for you and you have nightmares. I don't know. I'm not inside of his head. But anyhow, I always end these episodes by saying, yes, this is the case of the Idaho 4. And we do have sympathy for the families and friends of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, because it is all about them. Despite our opinions, our commentary, our differences, that's what the case is about. And I do have feelings for their families. So that's it. I think it's great when we have disagreements. I love it when we have respectful
Me too.
disagreements. When I have commenters that say, if you think that, you're a moron. Come on.
No.
Tell me, be like Will there. Tell me why you disagree with me. Give me facts, give me law, but don't just say you're a moron if you think that.
No. I think it's always good to ask questions. I just worry about when it comes to cases like this specifically. I worry that I'm thinking about the families getting closure, and I feel like they have enough to have closure, and pushing it and the people pushing it, the majority of people pushing it, I believe, are just people who've been following this case obsessively, came up with their own theories. Turns out their theories weren't correct, and they just won't accept it as an answer. I saw this happen with several cases. I mean, there's still people, idiots out there that think that Chris Watts is innocent. I'm like,
oh, that's crazy.
Come on. Right.
He was on video doing it.
I mean, well, no, he wasn't on video doing it, but there's so many.
Pretty much. He's sitting there in the front steps with the bodies all around, and he's holding a gun in his hand. So that's as close as you're going to get. That's
Wrong
really
case.
as close as.
Wrong
What?
case. No, yeah,
What?
That's not Chris Watts. No, Chris Watts strangled his pregnant wife and two small.
Oh, okay. I
girls.
thought that was Chris
Yeah.
Watts that took the rifle
No.
to his two kids while the other one was out in the street.
No, that
Which
was
one am I
a different.
thinking?
That was a different case. That guy's never going to see the light of day.
Oh, you're talking about the
I know
guy.
you're
That,
talking
oh,
about.
I know
That's
who you're
more
talking
recent.
about.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
more recent. Yeah.
I know the guy you're talking about. Yeah. So what did I want to say? Oh, there's no such thing as closure. There's no such thing as closure. There's a case in Massachusetts. Mary Lou Arruda. She was 15 years old in the South Shore. She was she was riding her bicycle when a man by the name of James Cater, after 4 trials, was found guilty. After he had done something similar in North Andover years before, took her off her bicycle, did things to her, left her tied to a tree in the state forest. Long story short, the Massachusetts courts took 4 times and a number of appeals up and back down to the Massachusetts Court of Appeals and then up to the Supreme Judicial Court. Appealed. 22 years later, after 4 bounces back to the trial courts, James Cater was finally found guilty of doing what he did to this 15-year-old little girl. And a
What
journalist
was it-
who I
what
know, by
was
the
it
way, a
that
journalist who
finally-
I know, hang on just a
What-
second. I'll let say anything you want, but let me just finish this. There's no such thing as closure, because 22 years after this happened, little 15-year-old Mary Lou Arruda would be in her 30s, and a journalist who I just happen to know asked her mother, well, how do you feel now that there's closure? And the mother said, there's no closure. I don't have my little girl. My little girl was 15. Now she's in her 30s. There's no such thing as closure. And I'll just tell you, there's not. It's just, it goes with you. A parent who loses a child just is never going to forget that. They're just
So
never
that
gonna
gives
forget it.
us the excuse to just keep talking about it and keep, hounding them and asking them questions and, flooding the internet with insane theories.
I don't think they're
mean-
insane theories at all. I think they're legitimate questions. When you found the police concocted and lied on a probable cause affidavit, you have every reason to ask questions. Absolutely. I have feelings for the parents. I really do. I have feelings for the parents, but that doesn't mean that we
so
just
what
all walk
was-
away.
What was the evidence that finally got this guy convicted? I'm curious. Do you know?
Nothing. He pled guilty.
He pled guilty, but what was the evidence that compelled him to plead guilty? They had to have sit him down at some point and go, "Hey,
You're
this,
wrong.
we got this,
Absolutely not. Are you talking about Koberger or the other case I just talked about?
The other case.
the case you're talking about now." Yeah.
Oh well, they eventually found evidence. They eventually found evidence.
Do you know what it
And
was?
no, he He didn't plead guilty. He did not plead guilty, but he was found guilty in a trial. And then his attorneys brought all kinds of appellate issues. And it was always pretty obvious. I mean, they
So
did
there
have
was a
evidence.
cigarette butt. So there was a cigarette butt, which leads me to believe it was DNA, which leads
I
me to
don't think.
believe
No,
that
this case was not a DNA case because it happened in the 80s, and that was before DNA was widely used.
that's my point. But it was
Yeah.
he was just convicted, correct?
In the early 2000s, yes, he was convicted.
Right, which is like the whole basis of the entire series, Cold Case Files. Every single episode is this episode. This happened in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s, but
Right.
then it went cold, and then now that we have DNA technology in 2002, well, we got a conviction. So this is it happens all the time now that DNA technology, because these cases go cold, but they never get closed. So a lot of the times with the advancement of technology and DNA, that proves that tends to prove cases that they couldn't prove before. Happens a lot. So
Yeah, but
I'm
that's
guessing,
not this case. That's not
I'm
this
just
case. My only
guessing
point
that-
in bringing up that case was to tell you the fact that there's no closure for a parent that loses a child. This is going to be with them forever. My brother
not-
was killed in Vietnam for no reason. He was only 18 years old. He had only been out of high school for less than a year, and he was killed in Vietnam. He was shipped back in a plastic bag. My parents took that to their graves years and years and years and years later. So I'm just telling you the fact that there's no such thing as closure. It's a cute word that was invented by some people a number of years ago to make people feel, but there isn't. For a parent that loses a child, especially in a horrendous way like the Idaho 4, there's not going to be any closure. And I feel very badly for all of them, their friends, their sisters, their brothers, their parents, their friends, but this is going to be with those parents forever.
I'm not going to argue the point whether or not there's technically closure or not technically closure when
Right.
it comes to a parent losing a child, and I'm not trying to minimize whether what a parent feels like from losing a child. I can't imagine it. Of course, there's not actual closure where you just forget about it and it's never a thing and you don't feel anything about it anymore. That's not what I mean by closure. By closure, I mean answers. By closure, I mean justice. That's all I mean.
But what if it's phony justice? What if it's phony answers? What if the police lied all the way through? I mean, I'm not saying they did. I'm just saying that there are serious discrepancies and outright lies in the probable cause affidavit, and I think people that ask questions have every right to do so.
I'm not saying that it's wrong to ask questions. I'm saying use sound judgment on what questions you're asking. Are these questions really that plausible? I mean, so my whole thing
How
is
will I know that until I get the answers? How will I know whether the questions are plausible until I get answers? When there are gaping holes in the narrative, we have every right to ask questions.
fine. I'm not saying I with the Idaho case, I'm not criticizing anybody for that necessarily. What I'm saying is, from what I've seen, I haven't seen any reason to doubt the integrity of the Moscow Police Department in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not going to take corruption at face value without hard evidence. There's no way I'm ever going to do that. The only reason it took me forever to reach the conclusion that the Massachusetts State Police, at least the officers involved in the Karen
Right.
Reed case, were corrupt. It took me forever to reach that conclusion because it's a very dangerous thing also when you cover true crime to spin that narrative without evidence, because we don't want to lose the public trust in the police. We don't want that. We don't want to lose the public trust in law enforcement. Who are we going to call when we get robbed? Who are we going to call when a loved one gets killed?
I couldn't agree more with that point, but that takes your eye off the
So
ball.
no, it doesn't. It keeps my eye on the ball because I am not going to just quickly jump to the conclusions that I need to start questioning the integrity of certain police departments without hard evidence. I would rather think that certain witnesses were confused because they might engage in drug use because they're teenagers in college or 20-year-olds in college, rather than assume that cops are just targeting somebody to get their man. I'm never going to jump to that conclusion before I jump to the conclusion that somebody could have just, a witness could have just simply gotten scared and confused what they remembered that night, or you know what I mean? That's just
No, I
how
don't.
my mind-
I
that's
really
how
don't, because I read into the case. I read all 23 of the motions that they brought to remove the death penalty. I read all the motions that they brought to remove to allow the third party alternate suspect. I read all of that stuff, and there's just so many holes. You can take a highlighter, a red highlighter, and highlight all the holes. And as one of my commenters pointed out, the police lied, and so we have every right to ask them questions.
Again, Andrew, I'm not doubting I can't debate you on the Idaho case because I didn't read all of those motions. I don't know. All I'm saying is generally what I've seen happen so many times in these cases, in these high profile, popular cases, and I hate using the word popular because it's annoying, because again, this isn't a song or an album or a movie. It is multiple people's lives who have been tragically affected. And I am always going to engage with empathy in looking into those things. I'm always going to be looking into the people who have been affected as victims from their perspective and their well-being before I start trying to Scooby-Doo everything. You know what I mean? Then I start
Scooby-Doo.
then
Who's Scooby?
then I'll
A.
start
Okay,
Scooby-Doo.
wait a minute. Hold up. Back up. Just back up the truck here. A. Who's Scooby doing anything to just simply ask questions? And
That
B.
is what Scooby doing
and B. How are having sympathy and empathy for the families and asking questions, how are those two things mutually exclusive? We live on a big
Because it's
planet and there's room for all of it.
Because it's not empathy and sympathy for the families if they're satisfied with the result and you're still pushing for something else.
Well, but it's two different things. It's absolutely two different things. You can have empathy for people and at the same time ask questions. There's a lot of questions that need to be asked about that case if you read all the documentation. And
I feel like we're talking.
I
in
have
circles
the
because
empathy that I have for
I'm
them.
not faulting you for asking questions. I'm faulting certain members of your audience for not simply for throwing out insane theories that are completely unplausible. Where do you get cartel out of any of this? I mean, there's nothing you're going to say that's going to justify those kind of theories being thrown around when parents are just simply trying to finally mourn their loss of their children.
Well,
I just
asking questions is totally mutually exclusive from having sympathy for the people that had a loss. So I think people are going to ask questions. People are going to continue to ask questions. And I've got to say, I think for the most part, you've been talking about other cases because I've heard you say you don't like these people that, or there are cases of, or there are cases of a cigarette butt and DNA. So I respect the fact that you're talking about other cases because none of what you say applies to this case where there are valid, legitimate questions that we're going to keep asking. And I would make a prediction, and maybe I'm wrong, but I would make a prediction that someday a lot of information will come out that'll prove that the investigation was just as shoddy as any other. Yes, you can fault a lot of the things that the Moscow police did. For example, you said there wasn't anything legitimate that would allow people to, these weren't your exact words, but you said something to the effect that there's nothing to prove that the Moscow Police Department did anything wrong in their investigation. Well, the very morning of November 13th night, 2022, Dylan and Mortensen and all of their friends are gathered out on the street. Dylan is standing on one side and Dylan is standing on one. Excuse me. Dylan was standing on one side of the street, and Bethany's standing on the other side of the street.
Not what
and
I
all
said.
these kids are just sitting around listening to everything they said. That's not what professional police do. I think a child that watches
You're misquoting me. I
forensic
didn't say
files,
that
a
the
child knows that you separate them. You take them into the police cruiser, you take them down to the station, you put them in separate rooms, you ask them professional, calm,
I agree with
cool
that.
questions.
I agree
That's
with
just
that,
one
but
thing
I
they
didn't-
did wrong.
But that's not what I said, and you misquoted me. What I said
Okay, what'd
was
you
I
say?
didn't see anything in the arrest affidavit that showed that they did anything wrong.
Well, why
I
would
am
they
not-
put their own mistakes
I
in
am
an
not-
arrest affidavit? Why would they do that? Why would they admit they're idiots in an arrest affidavit?
what I'm saying is, why would they contradict themselves in other in other statements and affidavits? Why would they do that? I mean, the question applies to what you're saying as well.
No, they put what they wanted to put in an arrest affidavit. The judicial system is an adversarial system. So when the police want to say something, they're going to say what they say that proves their point. They're not going to put in there, oh, geez, we didn't follow our own protocol. We didn't follow professional rules. We didn't follow the rules. They're not going to put that in their own arrest affidavit. Of course not. Anyhow.
Yeah. I don't know if this, yeah.
we have two different points of view. I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind. I can tell you that. So
we
I think we need to go forward from this conversation and say we had a great episode tonight. I like adversity. That's what I do. Like I say, we're in an adversarial system. It may not be the best system, but it's what we've got in this country, and
we have a disagreement. We have a disagreement on how true crime cases should be approached. Is what we have a disagreement on.
I don't know if that's true.
Not on the investigation, because I don't know enough about the investigation to argue with you about it. My disagreement with you is how these cases are approached by the media, independent media, mainstream media. Doesn't matter. That's my issue. That's always been my issue with true crime cases.
Well, I think we can both be critical of mainstream media because they'll grab a couple of things, like the statement that we both agreed on earlier this evening. They reported that there was video of Karen Reed hitting John O'Keefe's car, which turned out to be total bullshit, and they didn't investigate it.
Right, but
I agree with you.
It's apples and oranges as far as this conversation goes, not the cases, because I studied the Karen Reed case extensively, and I constantly saw evidence of corruption, of misconduct, constantly. Right. That is much different than me reading one arrest affidavit and then skipping years later to seeing a sentencing.
Right. Right.
True. Yeah, and I will say also that I agree, like, as I mentioned before, where in these types of situations, and to anybody in our comments, please do not be going to these victims. Please do not be harassing these victims. These are people who have endured a lot, and it's one thing to speculate, and it's another thing to go out of your way to make these people's lives miserable, because that's inappropriate.
I think speculation is good, but responsible speculation. And I've said this for the 6 years I've been a YouTuber covering cases.
How did you grow your channel so much? Tell me some secrets, or did I ask you that last time? Tell me the secrets.
By maintaining integrity.
There you go. But you're on a lot. I can't generate the volume. How do you do it so much that you generate so much content, and it's good content?
Just talk about what I'm interested in.
Cool. That's
and
cool.
Hopefully other people are interested in it too.
Well, obviously they are. Don't you think that
they want to hear my perspective? I give it to them the best I can, and if you like it, cool, and I'm grateful to you if you do. If you don't, then there's other channels you could watch covering, talking about the same cases. It's all good.
Yeah, there are a lot of channels, and we've just proven there are a lot of people that have different viewpoints. A lot of people have very different viewpoints, and it's good. I have people tell me all the time, didn't you see so-and-so? Didn't you see what so-and-so said? Didn't you see, the information that the other channel had? Well, yeah, I probably did, but, we're all different. We do different stuff. We all do different stuff.
Yeah, everybody brings their own strengths to the table.
Yep, it's true. So what's the next big case?
Well, right now the Karen Reed thing's not over as long as it's going civil, and as long as Aidan Kearney still has charges against him, I'm still going to cover that because it's still the same corrupt system trying to convict him.
Yeah.
So for now, that's what I'm focused on.
Yeah, not only Aidan Kearney, but also the Brian Walshe case, which is up for trial in October, I think October 24th, and the Myles King case. That is a crazy case. I mean, we're 4.5 years out and we still do not have, the discovery. 4.5 years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be watching all of those. All right, Glairer, it's very good to have you on here. Again, we have an adversarial system, and sometimes I rise to the challenge.
I always will too.
Running
obviously.
down that avenue. And so, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Any final words for us?
Oh no, just thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank
Lainey,
you
what
so
are your
much
final-
for coming on. Oh my God, my thoughts is that I was sweating with the chat over there. No, I think you guys handled it very well, and I think that, obviously, like Will, like you mentioned, I think that it's reasonable to, because Andrew's obviously gone into this case a lot and has his own concerns and stuff like that, and I don't think I appreciate almost, because I'm similar, where it's just like where the court says, he pled guilty. Let's believe that, and let's hope that everybody did their job correctly, is kind of the mentality that I'm going through. And I know that there's some questions, but I also appreciate your empathy and care towards the victims and their families, because it is a really difficult situation to navigate and discuss in general.
I'm going to ask Will a question that I always ask you. Lainey, you started this. At the end of every episode, we ask people that if they've been with us for the whole episode, if they'll leave us an emoji. Will, what emoji should people leave?
I have no idea how to answer that.
Random emoji.
I put people on the spot. Okay, Lainey, what's the emoji this time?
Well, Will, can you think of a random emoji before I make one up for you?
Put turtles in the chat for Aidan.
Turtles
turtles
in the chat.
Yeah.
There are turtle emojis. So, all right, if you've listened to our episode all the way through, put a turtle emoji for us.
Thank you, guys. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thanks, Clara. Thank you.
Whether you are in the grocery store, the gas station, or anywhere else, please remember to be kind to people. You don't know what they're going through. And the same goes for our comments section. We want you to comment, but be nice, be kind, be positive if you can. And thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one.